All right, we're live.
All righty, here we go. Kicking off a new series. This is pretty exciting stuff. Been looking forward to this. I know we have. I hope you've been looking forward to it as well. But we're going to start our Judge Executive primary series here. Got with us MJ Haddix, finishing second term as Glencoe Veterans Memorial Magistrate. Thank you a lot for coming in.
Thank you all. Appreciate the time.
Yep. This is, I think this is maybe one that people have been looking forward to. I know we have, but I guess we'll get started. Tell us a little bit. You've been around local government now for 8 years. What have you seen that's motivated you? What's made you want to run for Judge Executive?
Well, I would say that the same thing that motivates me today is probably the same thing that was motivating me back whenever Josh and I ran for magistrate. I think it's the same thing that all young people, where's the change? Why are we not seeing some change? We see the counties next door to us growing. What do we do to get the good change? How do we stop the bad change? Whether that's housing development, job creation, the Speedway, which it was going when we first started, but how do we get growth around, at that time, how do we get growth around that area to where it's not just a couple weekends out of the year where we capitalize on bringing business around our exits? Another big thing too was youth development. Whenever we was growing up, but it's still kind of the same today. If you're not in sports, fortunately, I raced motocross. We went to school together, and I didn't do the sports thing, but a lot of kids do. But there's a lot of kids that don't do the sports stuff. So where is that development, and how do we get things in here for families, young families, where we don't have to go to Florence? So controlled growth. I talk about that a lot, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk about that, some of the future stuff. But how do we get the good change, the good growth? How do we curb the drug problem? How do we get 24-hour police coverage? How do we stop the influx of drugs coming into the community? Because it seems like no matter who you are, somewhere in our family, there's a drug problem, and it affects every single household in this county. So how do we stop that? What changes do we take? I've always said my motto was focused on our future, still focused on our future. I'm using the exact same slogan, same sign. I just changed one word to two. So trying to get there and figure out why it's the way it is. We grew up in a political family. We've seen several different, we've been friends with other judges and that, and you see the same thing happening, and it just doesn't seem like it's the change that we've ever really dreamed of. So everything's constantly changing in our lives, but government still seems to stay the same. So trying to figure that portion of the puzzle out.
So for me, there's like 10 different cans of worms in that. And
well, you opened up 100 whenever you started this podcast.
But yes, and that was our goal. So I'm glad we did that. But let's just kind of dive through that one by one, because we talk about future change, and something that we've talked about on previous shows is one thing we would like to see. Step one, let's retain our people. And you talked about, we don't have this or we don't have that in our county, and people have to go, you were talking about motocross, or maybe you're talking about a grocery store, but people end up leaving to go to Florence, or they go to Lexington or Louisville, but we lose people. And in controlled change, I think, we want to keep our people. So what do you think of all those line items? I kind of jotted down here. You've got jobs, you've got kids involvement, you've got grocery store, you've got housing, all this stuff, the problem with drugs. What do you think's number one? If you had to pick one, where would you go?
I think being a politician, a lot of times it depends on, whenever I came in here, I can't even really tell you exactly, because whenever I'm out campaigning and doing door to door, You hear different stories. Each household, it's affecting something different is affecting every household. And those people are compassionate about the story that they're telling you and how it's affecting their daily life. So I got a rural education first time campaigning, again, 4 years ago. Now I'm out and beating on doors, and you hear all these stories. So it's hard to pick just one. That's the hard thing about being in politics. You get here and you get in a seat and you start seeing so many different angles. And we live life on the farm, grew up on the farm. So I always say, on using national politics, for example, it's hard for me to relate to someone that lives in downtown Cincinnati. Well, whenever you get in a seat, you start having to relate to the mass. You have to represent everyone. So it's hard for me to pick one thing. Right now, our biggest problem, you all have talked about it over and over. I don't know how many hours in the podcast you all have got now, but revenue and taxes. The revenue situation right now has to be the number one thing. Our budget's tight. Our assessments, they've doubled over the last, I forget how many, I've got some notes here for you all to look over later.
The PVA assessments, you mean, on property values?
Yes, on the property values. They've doubled, but that's equated to, and that's just because prices went up, especially since COVID, real estate, and that's went through the roof. But just because our property assessments went up and everybody's getting a bigger tax bill, last year I think the sheriff collected $10.1 million. Well,
do you know what that was 8 years ago or 10 years ago?
I can look that up here. I got it in my notes somewhere.
Would you say that the county's got a revenue problem coming or a spending problem coming?
Well, I think we're bare bones right now because, and that's, if I could ask you all a question, and if I could have like 30 minutes to show you the budget and rough it over, which it would be hard to have that conversation and do all this at the same time, but we're bare bones. Can we curb some spending? Yes, I'm king of cutting on expenditures because if you watch any of the court meetings, I'm going through the bills and that, and I'm looking at $14 phone bills. The old bank building now that we're renovating and turning it into the little general store to sell our produce and that, it was costing us for the electric, sewer, all the minimums. Like I was the one, hey, let's stop that. Let's insulate the building up at Napoleon. Our bills there in the winter months were sky high because we were heating a building that didn't hardly have any insulation. So I've tried to go through and clean up a lot of that. Now, everybody wants everything, but nobody wants to pay taxes, any higher taxes. And I don't like paying any higher taxes. I get that. Everything's tight at home. You all have seen the labor prices increase. All your machinery prices increase. Everything's going up. Again, since COVID, everything is astronomically higher than it was just a few years ago. So trying to go through, like right now, we could cut really the top three things that stick out to me that we're providing that could essentially be cut outside of fire and EMS and our roads. Our basic necessities would be animal shelter, senior building, youth sports. Whenever I say that and people at home are watching, they're like, whoa, no. I get it. So we're trying our best to cut some of that out now. And we've supported the fairgrounds. That looks a lot different than it did. Mm-hmm. We've got a wonderful group of volunteers over there. They try. I've been there. That's a thankless job. I know. So that's the one thing I started whenever I was young. I've been on tax appeals, planning and zoning, all these different things in the county. Getting to where I'm at and being magistrate has opened up my eyes to a whole new thing. So that experience and working up puts me in a little bit different situation. So I get to kind of comb back through our bills and that. So we're pretty bare bones now. To answer your question, yes, we could curb some spending, but we really need revenue. And that's where we need to talk about controlled growth because just like you all, I love where I live. We live on the 452 acres there at Glencoe. I don't ever see myself leaving there. It's home. It's farm. You know, well, I grew up down on the Hujon farm that you all now everybody knows is the Jones Brothers farm there at Blue Heron, and it's interesting to see the county change. I'm so glad you all ended up with it. I remember that conversation in KFC at Carrollton that day. I'll never forget that. I didn't know what was going on, and y'all met with my grandfather. And I'm so glad that everything worked out the way it did, because now you all have got this place. Yeah, it's good to see. How do we protect our family farms? You know, Brad Knoll, they've had that farm. I forget how many years it's been. It's over 100.
Over 100, 1800s, I think. Yeah.
So how do we keep the farm community together as it changes around us? You know, we're not big tobacco farmers anymore. Well, I don't know how much you all are doing, but, you know, there's very few. It's fewer and fewer.
Few and far between.
Yeah. So how do we build around the people that's here? How do we, instead of, Josh, don't get mad at me, how do we attract better housing? How do we get more residents that are owners instead of so many properties that are being rented out, to where those people have a major investment into the community? And how do we make it their home instead of so many people just moving around in that?
I want to talk about that. I do want to. So where did we leave off on the? It was a 10.1 million in revenue, and we were going to look up.
What it was.
Yeah, I want to give you a minute, because that we were
10.1 million that the sheriff collected. He said.
Yes, the sheriff collected 10 point, and we were going to ask, where was that?
So let's back up to 2015, and that total tax collection in 2015 was 6.4 million. The county received 559,000 of that. In 2025, the collection was 10.1 million, and the county received 857,000 of that. So
that's roughly what, a 60% increase from
up 300,000 roughly.
It's so 60% increase,
yeah,
roughly.
Yeah.
And even though we doubled that, I've got some notes here to talk. Oops.
No cracks. You're good. But, you know, one thing that I think a lot of our listeners would love clarity on, I know I would love clarity on it. We got all these pots of money that we've talked about on several shows, but ultimately it's the general fund that is tight.
The general fund, and we propped that up with the LGEA, and the judge, he spoke on that some. Everything is regulated. The general fund, we can do whatever we want to with it. We have, you know, I've heard this comment before, and the judge is going to love me for this, but we often say we have more money in the bank than we ever have. Okay, well, it's opioid settlement money.
What is that? What is opioid settlement money?
So that is where the drug companies were sued, and all the counties jumped into a lawsuit, and they sued the pharmacies and the big farm and the medical professionals, where people were getting pills. And you know, whenever we had the OxyContin crisis there several years ago,
that is restricted funds that can only be used for something related.
Yes.
What
and
can that be used for?
I knew you was going to ask me that, and on that one, I'm not 100% sure exactly what all that can be used for, but EMS, medical assistance in the county. But as far as a full list, I'd have to get that for you.
But that's a big deal that it can be used for EMS, because based on our show with the current judge executive, that's one of our big ticket items.
Yeah. So, and whenever I want to go back to this collection here real quick on the 10.1, and the county gets 857,000. So many people was like, well, where's the rest of that going? Well, take a time, and
majority of it's the school.
Yeah. So last year they received 6.4 million.
Yeah.
So, and then you have all your special taxing districts that, you know, there's a lot of us.
A big
library
conservation.
They're sitting on a ton of money. I would love if anybody on the library board wants to donate any money to the county. We're here. We're wide open.
I mean, I think we all agree, as soon as we get past May 19th, we're eager to talk to someone from the school. We're eager to talk to someone from the library because, I mean, there is a lot of money going to those two places. And I'm just going to jump back very quickly, and then we'll stay on this budget topic. But, you know, if we do want good controlled growth and we want, you know, you talk about wanting property owners who set roots here, you do have to have a really good school. You do have to have a good library. You know, you need all those things.
You
but
could have a job here too.
Yeah. But
typically.
Where's that balance?
Yeah, so you know, your dad's on the school board. My uncle's on there, and that's a very we don't cross boundaries a whole lot. I let him do his thing. You probably don't have you may or may not have big conversations with your dad about the details of it. I get aggravated whenever I look at my tax bill and I see that where the money's going, and I know how strapped we are right now, and everybody's got the same questions. Where's my money going? Why is my road not fixed? Why don't I have a splash pad?
Speaking of the road, how much of the road fund is funded by road tax that comes from the state?
As far as
I mean, does the general fund supplement the road
no,
fund?
No. Road funds have to be. That's all from the road tax.
So that's the county barn. I mean, their dump trucks, everything they have at the county barn that they use to.
I mean, we could
to plow snow, to salt the roads. Everything is part of comes from fuel tax from the state.
Yeah. So The only thing that's self-sufficient in our county right now, for the most part, that we don't have to transfer anything in and out of, is the road fund, which the road funds can only be used for roads. So it is 100% restricted.
So our county roads are taken care of from that 22.2% that comes to the county. It's the road fund, all their equipment, all their salaries, salt, everything.
Yes.
And they are solvent.
Yes. Now, there's a couple employees that work part-time here and they're getting part of their pay here, but they also get money out of the LGEA because they take care of the parks. So that money can be used. So it's a little bit of a money flex here and there. So
there's some gray area.
Yes. We're working it to the best of our ability to capitalize on the funds.
Some of the road department workers mow the parks and things, right?
Yes, and they take care of the sports complex lawn and that. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're finagling money. Maybe that's not the best way to say it, but
you exploit every gray area you
we're trying to
legally
benefit.
can.
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody does that.
Yes.
And to expand upon that, the LGE money, that's predominantly coming from our quarries in the county.
Yeah, so that's set up by the state, and they have a formula that they use. Again, there's nothing easy in government and how the money flows in. Can't just use it for anything either. So, but they have a formula that even the counties, I'm pretty sure the counties that don't even have like quarry or anything, they get a little piece of the pie just for being in Kentucky.
That's something that I've really learned from us starting this show is how valuable that money is to our county. It's roughly equal. You know, the Speedway is such a big hot topic. We're going to get to that, but the quarry money, that LGE money, that's roughly equal to what the Speedway revenue is at the moment, correct?
Yeah, I would have to look at that.
It was around that 400 number.
Yes. So, it's went up.
Yeah, I think Ryan said that in the last 7 years it had essentially doubled or something.
It has. It was a little over 200, I believe, whenever first took office. And I've got the new, here, I'll just throw this out here in case anybody wants to look at it. This is the new proposed budget. So
you said I think you might have said you voted no on the new proposed budget.
Yes, and the reason that I've done that is because we're cash strapped, right? So my number one priorities is always going to be fire, EMS, police, police first. I said that backwards. And then roads. And then we'll work on the youth developments, family stuff. Until then, those top four are what you have to focus on. Those are your basic necessities.
Totally agree.
So with that said, I have a hard time. For example, all the Haddix Park people's going to love me. I love what they've done up there. I love the dream. I love the vision. David, the whole group, they've worked so hard. But it's also at the end of a road. a state road that the state will not address. And there's 20 people probably that live back there past that slide at the entrance of Haddix Park. And now we've created a park that it's great because it brings people in from outside the county that brings them to our county. But the downfall of that is now we've put a whole bunch of traffic on a road. I was up there in my dually truck, met a pickup truck, had to back up probably an eighth of a mile. If it was dark or raining, I don't know. Like, I chose to back up because the person backed up about 6 foot and I could already see that wasn't going to work. So I might as well throw it in reverse. So we may be creating a safety problem. I don't want to say that we are, but
is there money going there now from the county budget?
Yeah. So over the last few years, we've spent several thousands of dollars up there. I could get a breakdown of that too, but we're spending money there.
Several thousand, roughly. How much would you say? I mean,
I've asked that twice, and I got conflicting reports. So
just
without
ballpark.
going through it,
Would you call it less than 10, less than 50, less than 100?
we've been more than 10. I'll put it that way. So
annually?
Depends on what year. And, if it comes a big rain and a big storm and that, the road gets washed out and you have to start over because that hill, you all have been up there, I'm sure. Yeah. It's a pretty long road and it's steep. But on top of that, excuse me, we have people up there, and the sheriff could give you, I'm sure you all probably will have him in here, him or the dispatch director could give you the numbers off of, they have a different system. They can pull it up real quick. But we have had multiple calls up there. We've had shooting, people firing weapons. Well, I don't know. Conflicting reports again. You get a 911 call, shots fired. What do? You race up there as quick as you can. Well, from right here, right in Warsaw, how many minutes does it take to get to the top of the hill at Haddix Park?
And you've just stole a paid deputy or EMS or whatever from the rest of the county for that.
So then you get up there and you find out it's a whole bunch of people. They're up there partying. They're not from Gallatin County. You've made it up there. Now you get a call on Walnut Valley, Campbell Road, Sparta. How long does it take you to get back there? I don't care if you run 100 mile an hour. You're not getting back to an emergency situation very quick. Nucor, like it doesn't happen.
So was there funding in this budget that you didn't like that was going to Haddix?
So this one got cleaned up a lot. The main problem that I have with this is normally we have, whenever the first budget was proposed the month ago, we were at a $57,000 deficit, a shortfall. So we had to balance that out. To balance that out, we took away, I have to go back through my first one. I've got notes. I'm sorry, you're all asking me some of these questions, and I should be a better dictionary, but I've got notes written everywhere. But the main thing that I don't like is our taxes. We normally leave for like our occupational tax and that. We normally leave a $200,000-$300,000 deficit, a shortfall. So we know that we are going to have a surplus there in case anything happens. To balance this budget, we have maxed out those lines to what we think we're going to get instead of having that cushion. Mm-hmm. That's awfully risky. It's awfully risky too. We've got everything thinned out. It's lean as can be for the most part. The jail bill, it's up astronomically, and we upped it again. I think this budget is $680 that we are going to have budgeted there. So that's barely going to do it. As of today, last month, I think after that bill's paid, we're at $581. We are continually going up with the increase in traffic. 71, the traffic through here.
Are a lot of the arrests coming from the interstate, or where are they coming from mostly?
Well, there's a lot. Again, it depends on who's working, and but it's a lot of traffic coming in, going through to Belterra, just going through the county. There's so many people that's just coming in. Our drug problem is people coming in, dropping, and we've got a couple real good deputies right now that they're trying to intercept all that. So, and then again, certain parts of the county, there is certain groups of people, and the judicial system keeps turning them out because our jail bill, they don't want to pay. The state don't want to pick up the tab. They want the counties to keep paying all the
I was
bills.
going to ask about state police. When they arrest people in the county, does that go on the county's jail bill also?
Yes, just like the city of Warsaw, even though it's, if Junior or somebody goes out and arrests somebody,
Mm-hmm.
Warsaw don't pay into that. The county picks that tab up. So the whole system, which I'm fine with that, but it would be nice that there was some way that we could come up with a better formula. Really, the person that's getting the get out of jail free card, no pun intended, is the state, because they have the judges working to where if it's a certain time, certain charges, they get off the hook of paying. So if they keep them in there, and I forget the exact amount of days, but they'll run their sentence right up to that, and then they'll turn them loose. County's got to pay the tab. So then that same exact person comes back in, and they're liable to have 2 or 3 cases sitting on the docket, and they just keep on doing the same thing. So the state don't have to pick up that tab, because our wonderful legislators in Frankfort know, they want to drop taxes and that. I get it, but you can't drop it and expect the local counties to pick up on that tab because the money's not there.
So something I really want to ask you, if elected judge executive, is that something you feel like you can address? What ideas do you have to do something different than we're currently doing to make that a better situation?
So, the judge and I, on a personal level, I don't have anything bad to say about Kentucky, Ryan. I give everybody credit for stepping up to the plate. It's not hard. You've been there. Your mom was there. Being in politics is a terrible business. It's dirty. People's passionate. Whenever they sign up, they're very, very passionate about what they're doing to step out there on that ledge. So kudos to everybody that's running for office. I appreciate every single one of you. That said, having the knowledge that I do now, we've got to talk about controlled growth. Something has to happen with the Speedway. I know everybody's talking about, I think it was one of the first podcasts. I told you I hadn't watched very much of them, any of them. But I did hear on one, maybe it was with the judge. We were talking about you was talking about if the Speedway went on the full tax roll for their full bill. Yes, their bill is more, but the county portion is $200,000-$300,000 less from the $430,000-$450,000 that we're getting now. So while it sounds good to the average person, a few years ago I would have said the same thing. Put it on there. Put it on there.
Well,
Make them pay the taxes.
That's why we were talking about it with the school collecting as much money as they do. If maybe it'd be easier to work with the school board and say, hey, look, we need some of this money, in the county budget. I don't know if that's a thing you can do or not, but could the school board maybe adjust the rate down a little, county adjust it up where it doesn't cost the taxpayer anymore, but it gets the money where we need it in the county.
Well, that's what I think, that you have to have a very eager, ambitious person. Whenever I talk about controlled growth, the Speedway, we've talked different times with the owners of the Speedway and management there. We're not getting a NASCAR race back. Yeah, they just said that no. So it's not coming back. As much as I would like it to come back in ways, I'm a huge NASCAR fan. I've been there. I was at the groundbreaking with Clarence and Juanita. I've been there from the get-go. It's sad. I hate it. But we have to do something with that property where it's not just sitting there.
Are the owners of the Speedway interested in doing something with the property? Is it for sale?
Well, yes, and nobody wants to talk about it.
What's the price tag?
I shouldn't let it come out. I don't know the complete details of it, but I've heard between that 90 and 100 million mark. was what it was recently. I don't want to say too much. I'll just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off of it. Met with a couple developers a month and a half ago, whenever the data center rumors were going around. Not a complete rumor.
So there is some merit to that.
I come out 100% against it. Everybody's like, well, why did you meet with developers? Well, that's my job. At the end of the day, that's my job. And no matter if I agree with something or not, as magistrate, it is my duty to sit down and at least entertain whatever the proposal may be. I have to look over it because MJ Haddix, he doesn't know everything. I'm not like, I won't claim that. I won't claim that fame. So a lot of data centers, there's so many. I've tried to educate myself on that, and wow, there's a lot of different data centers. And whenever I met with the developers and that, it was a very large building. It consisted of several buildings. We can call it a data center. It was more of a support building. Whenever Trump was in Hebron talking about different things coming to Kentucky, he was specifically talking about the Kentucky Speedway, and none of us knew. After I had that meeting, I'm like, whoa, all right then. This is interesting. So I started asking, who's pushing this project? Are you all pushing the airport? That's been a hot topic of mine. I didn't understand why the state and the feds wanted that so bad. We pushed back against it. I kind of led that way, where the county was not going to be on the hook for any local matches going to the airport. If they want to build an airport in our backyard and completely fund it, so be it. I'll take anything that they want to give us whenever we're sending billions of dollars overseas and everybody gets money and we're the ones paying for it. So if they want to waste money in our backyard, I'll take it all day. So
at this point, has the county not had any local matches out there?
Let's stay on the data centers for a minute here.
Yeah, I want to come back to that as well. But one of the biggest things I took from your statement there, you're saying there are suitors that are players in that 90 to 100 million price tag range. There are people legitimately interested in locating in our county at that rate?
Well, several years ago, I was sitting on the back deck at Sunset, and the owner of Crosley Radios just happened to overhear a conversation. He was sitting behind me, and I kind of turned around there, and I eavesdropped for about 20 minutes. And then as he was leaving, he spoke to us, and I got up and introduced myself. And he said, just the man I want to talk to. What's the county think of this? Well, we talked a little bit, and they were out there, and they had a couple RVs there staying in the infield, and they were looking at the track. Now, I later found out that there was a little disagreement. I think they had a big time that night, and the deal fell through sometime in the middle of the night. But there are people that's looking at it. This development that was looking at coming out there, I think it's long gone, personally. But
why is it long gone?
Nobody was real ambitious to come to the table. And whenever I met with them, there was supposed to be other people meeting with them, and I don't think they ever showed up. That's what concerns me. I want us, and I'm not taking any personal gouges. I know it's politics, and people want you to say what you're going to do different in that. All I'm going to say is MJ Haddix is going to be very ambitious about trying to do something, because I do not want to pay any more in taxes. And I have a hard time whenever we talk about the payroll taxes, and recently it was in the newspaper about it only affected 30% of county residents paying into the occupational tax. Yes, okay. Nucor's our number one employer. The second one, a lot of people tend to forget. The school system.
Oh, the schools, yeah.
Well, for years, we all know educators have been underpaid. Until here recently, our teachers were some of the lower paid people. That's a thankless job too, I've been around that, and I don't want to address that issue a whole lot, but I've been around the school system for several years, and so I know what's going on there and how hard those jobs are. So for me, and then the third one is doormans, and we do contract work for doormans. We're out there pushing snow at 4 o'clock in the morning whenever that shift comes in. There's a gentleman, I seen 3 or 4 people this year during that big snow. They was walking. The snow's knee deep. They're walking into work. And then one morning, I see a guy, he's riding his bicycle. I caught a glimpse of him clear out by Dairy Queen. It's snowing so hard. And I go out there, I drop the plow, and try to get him in there. And he thought I'd give him $1 million. He was so appreciative of it. And but you've got all those people that's barely making it. Like, they're struggling. How do I raise the taxes on a person that's working? We all have seen it. There's people that don't work and they take advantage of the system and that. So whenever somebody's working and they're barely making it and they're trying to raise a family and that, and housing's high, everything's high on them, how do I consciously increase a tax whenever I know that we're not being ambitious enough to get the controlled growth that I'm talking about? We have to do something with that property out there. We have to be open-minded. If we want our tax rates to stay the same, if we want good fire protection, EMS, police coverage, we have to, if we're not going to raise taxes, there's only one way you do that. Well, 3 ways. You cut what's left, what I talked about earlier. Nobody wants to do that. You raise taxes, or you create a base where our occupational tax, our occupational tax has doubled since 2020. It's went up over $1 million since then. So we have to do things to get the business here, to get that revenue in, if we want to keep doing what we're doing. Because like I said, we're pretty bare bones right now.
So if you're elected, do you think you have a strategy to revive a deal out there? Do you still think it's hopeless? No judge is going to get
Well, that was for
done?
the data centers, what you were referring to, right?
Well, yeah, I don't.
Well, there was talk of deals at the Speedway and a data center.
Yeah.
Both sound like they fell through.
So yeah, the one was a personal issue, I guess, but I don't want to speak out of terms for the Speedway owners or that, but that deal fell through several years ago. This last one, I would say that we're out. Some surrounding counties around us are very aggressive. You look to our west and you see Carrollton over the last 30 years, they have been whipping our tails. And everyone wants to talk about pollution and that. Here's an idea. Let's think about this for a second. I agree. Let's protect ourselves. But at the same time, let's think about what we're doing. If we have stipulations, we have to be open-minded. Sorry, fellas. We have to be open-minded to change if it's restricted in certain areas so it has the least impacts on our daily lives out here in the community. But we have to be open to that change and putting strict restrictions on whatever goes there for pollution, whatever it may be. The drinking water, and that is a big topic. As long as we have those restrictions in place, we have to allow things to come here, because they're just going to keep going to our west, where people are wanting things there. We're breathing their pollution every day. Let's look down the river. Let's just forget Nucor. We're benefiting from that. We got KU. We got NAS.
Dow.
Celotex.
Dow.
Dow.
Air gas.
We got all these chemical places down there. We're in the wind. We're in, that's west of us. We're breathing it every day. So we're already, the cancer rate around here is extremely high. That's something else. Everybody's affected by that. It's no secret. So when do we start thinking outside the box to where, I don't want to say, well, we're already breathing it, let's do some more. I'm not saying that. Let's restrict it down. Let's create the growth that we want, and not just say, oh, no, we don't want anything to change, because that's not allowing us. We're not going to be able to keep doing that with the prices of everything going up across the board and keep that going. Like, it's just not going to happen.
So to sift through this entire conversation and summarize it in one sentence, would you say that if elected judge, in order for our county to have all the things that are valuable to us and that create good, sustainable growth, you want to highly focus on good development on the Speedway property that brings jobs and that brings potential occupational tax and revenue into the county so that we don't have to tax our citizens in order to do all of that?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And I don't want to just focus on that area. We have another interstate exit ramp that I've been trying to clean up. You get off the Glencoe exit, we have the new exit, which is starting to become an eyesore too. I wish it looked a lot different. We've got the Sparta exit, which we can't, they asked for a zone change there several years ago to build a business. Planning and zoning turned it down. It went to the court. I was the only magistrate to overrule our planning and zoning to allow, it was another truck stop. But everybody says, well, if you keep putting truck stops at the exit ramps, nothing else is ever going to come. Well, I beg to differ. You go to the Richwood exit and you got 2 truck stops and you got Triple Crown sitting right behind one. It's all about
a lot of restaurants and things like that.
Yeah. So it didn't, you got Cattleman's behind it now. It's about who's selling it, who's trying to get it there. It doesn't stop anything. And I like planning and zoning in one way, but I'm also one of those people too that I own the land. I pay the taxes on it. Who's the government to tell me yes or no what I'm going to do with it? So I see it from both sides. At the same time, planning and zoning isn't a terrible thing because you have to have it to protect yourself from data centers, garbage dumps, all that thing.
Yeah, I think zoning was intended for more major companies and things like that might present pollution problems or health hazards or something like that. Major corporations, not smaller people trying to, sell their land for a truck stop or for Dollar General, which I recently heard that they turned that down in Glencoe again, which I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I didn't go to that meeting, and it's one of the things that I've focused on too. It's on my cards. If you find a card at home here, I don't know when these are going to air. I guess we're at Thursday morning, a week and a half out from the election. But it is one of the things that I've talked about. We need qualified people on boards that have knowledge of that specific area.
And I don't care what you go to do anywhere, somebody's going to complain about it, no matter what it is. And I mean, if you always let the few that complain stop everything, you're never going to get anything.
Yeah, that's something we've learned immediately from starting this show, and you live in it as a politician. Anything you go and do, you're going to step on toes. So, I mean, you almost have to make up your mind what's best for the whole, and I'm going to put my head down and go do it.
I've not been Mr. Go with the flow since I've been in office. It is a terrible job to sit in a room full of people that you respect, love, some of them, and you've grown up around. And you sit in that room and they want you to do one thing, but it's not the best thing to do for the whole, and look at them and vote the opposite way and know, this job is terrible in a lot of ways. I love it because I love my community. And a lot of the things that you all have talked about is the reason that I'm involved. I don't want things costing us any more money. I want the best bang for my buck. But it is a really hard job because the longer you're in this, the more people you make mad. And it stinks to sit down at Jules and know somebody your whole life and talk to them every day. And then all of a sudden, boom, they don't even want to speak to you. They won't look at you. They won't even give it the time of the day. So that's why I say all the candidates that step up, the ones that's running for re-election, thank you, because it's a hard job. Politics are dirty. Somebody's got to do it, I guess. But yeah, it's very unfortunate. But back to the exit ramps, and I think if you get off the Glencoe exit, it's probably the dirtiest, nastiest exit that there's maybe in the whole country, but definitely in the state of Kentucky. I haven't found one yet. Maybe there's one down at Livingston. It's a little rough looking too, but outside of that, I don't know of one that looks any worse. And whenever we created code enforcement, that's kind of one of the things that instead of a whole bunch of different residential things, I wanted us to take like the top 5 and focus on those whenever we first created that. And not knocking the code enforcement board and that we've had a change of the code enforcement officer. It's been kind of a nightmare itself.
That's
boards,
a tough job.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Brent done that for a while. He had everybody on their toes for a little bit, but I think if you go around and talk to people and they're making progress, and I was talking to a gentleman 2 days ago, and he said, "I'm trying, MJ." He said, "I don't have the money just to go or the time just to sit here." He said, "Yeah, I made a mess." He was very honest about it. He said, "I inherited a little bit of mess." He bought it from a family member, and I see the change. So, I think a lot of times people want you to do things, but they lose compassion for one another. We live in a world now that cell phones and everything, everybody wants something done just like this. I don't know if technology's made us that way. It seems like everybody's real irritable. They want to tell everybody else how to live. They don't want anybody telling them how to live. So being in this seat or being in the judge's seat in the future, if I'm fortunate enough to get elected, I'm going to tell everybody right now, I'm not making any promises, because you have to have compassion. You have to have compassion for people. I want to do the best, but I'm also going to work with people. So if elected, I will make it a top priority to clean up the welcome mats into this county. They are our front door. Warsaw's such a beautiful place, but you got to get off if you're coming from Florence or anything, GPS takes you off right at Glencoe, and the first thing you see, it's a little rough. Not a little, it's a lot.
And that's been a topic for most of the Glencoe magistrates as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, everybody's going to say, well, you've been magistrate. I am 1 vote out of 4 magistrates. And then the judge usually only votes, in most counties, they only vote until there's a tie. Ryan, he does choose to vote, so he has a voting record.
So I want to stop you on that, though. If elected, and that is a priority to clean up the exits, what would be some ideas? Would you go try to recruit business to come and locate there? What would you do? Because you would still only be 1 vote that may or may not even vote as a judge. So what would you do there? So
that's going to go back to that daily operations thing with the code enforcement. Whoever the code enforcement officer is, usually they're taking their orders and they're getting their energy from the judge's office. So with that said, if you're a Glencoe resident, Johnson Road 16, you know that the exit 62 truck stop has had a driveway problem, and they've had water running across the 127 for years and years and years.
I said in another show, their parking lot's so rough, I stopped going there.
Well, it's horrible.
Yeah.
And
the whole exit is, the dust and things from there makes the road and everything is a mess anytime it rains.
And KYTC's been there. So I used to work as a road inspector, and the guardrails have specific crash cushions that have to be a certain amount. So whenever you hit it, it's not the end of that guardrail and that crash cushion that you hit has to be a certain height off the ground so it hits a car specifically in a spot. So the airbags, the frame, everything works so it doesn't penetrate through the car. Or it doesn't just shoot you over top of it. I want you to pay attention the next time that you go through there. The gravel and the dirt and everything that's built up, it's at the bottom of the crash cushion. It is flush. That's probably supposed to be 12, 18 inches. I don't know what the standard spec is on that. It's supposed to be several inches off the ground, and it's built up in front of it, clean over top. You turn on the northbound entrance ramp, and there's a pile of rock in that from that same place. It has to be addressed. We have to hold business owners accountable. Since that has been bought by the recent owners, now they've owned it for several years. You've seen it. They're not putting much money back into it. They're taking the money away from it. I don't think their business is near what it used to be. The place used to be full, and now their business has dwindled. I think that you get the code enforcement officer, and if they don't like it, if they don't want to clean up the community in that, and they think that we're nagging them and we're being a pain, well, maybe they'll sell it to somebody that will take care of it or build something new.
So are there ordinances or something that would have to be passed in order to do that? Or
are
there current ordinances that
we
you
have
could use?
current ordinances that could address that. We have just about, as far as the code enforcement goes, it can be used. There's so much stuff in there, Josh. We can go after. Now, that said, I've seen some people.
It's probably not good politics to enforce a lot of those
I know. That's what I'm not here for a long time. I'm here kind of for a good time and to get things done. So I keep on telling everybody, if I'm fortunate enough to get elected, we might be back here. Hopefully, you all are still doing this, and I hope you keep doing this no matter who's elected. I would like to see. It's one of the things that, if I get in office, I would like to see a way to better communicate with people in the community. This is awesome. I seen the one video, I think, with the judge had 13,000 views a couple days ago. Yeah. So awesome. Like, how great is that? Because people are getting educated. They don't know. And if we could schedule a time to talk an hour or so every 3-6 months to explain how the taxes work and that. And it's all the time changing. So you could update the people by doing this, and everybody at home would have an idea of what their government's doing, what they're facing.
I think that's absolutely exactly what we intend to do. I think all the magistrates have called for that. Honestly, most all the candidates have called for that. It sounds like a lot of
the transparency.
Yeah, that's a big
issue.
topic.
Which, I mean, honestly, this I feel like we've really broke some news here on this show with MJ's the first person to tell us that there actually was a data center that was interested in something at this in the county.
Yeah, and I want to go back to that a little bit. Zach was asking about the airport, and you mentioned that Trump was at Verse Logistics or wherever he was, and that he was speaking specifically about our county and our property. What is it about that? Is it the Speedway, just that it's there? Is it the interstates? Is it the airport being next to it? What makes it so attractive, and what makes us a likely candidate to land something?
Well, we're sitting on a gold mine for something like that if people wanted it. If we could get the restrictions in place, and obviously I would never do anything that the community didn't want to do. So that's why I say we can restrict. I'm trying to think of the best words. We could restrict the crap out of it, for the lack of better terms. And we have checks and balances in place if we have the right people doing it, whether it be code enforcement, planning and zoning. So many times that we go to a board meeting anymore and there's not even enough people show up for a quorum. That's embarrassing. It's ridiculous, and it's pathetic. We have to have all of those set up. I won't say that going in office real quick, I'm not the best politician. I'm not going to sit here and paint a pretty picture and say, day one, we're going to do this and this, and 6 months later, we're going to have this. No, it's a process. It has to be reformed from the top to the bottom. So what makes the Speedway, though, so attractive to everyone, data centers, one of the two biggest complaints with those that you hear on TV and everything is water pollution, electric costs, energy costs.
I hear about the noise.
Yeah. And the noise, yes. And so this center out here, that was one of the things I asked about. I said, this humming noise that everybody's talking about, how do you combat that? And he said, well, I'll give you 2 or 3 to go look at. And I said, well, I won't go on a day. He said, you can schedule. I said, nope, I'm not scheduling anything. If I go look at something, I'm not going to have somebody fix it up for me to where it's a certain way and then it's not that way every day. I said, now you can give me the addresses and I'll go look at them. But I said, what's the hum? He said, well, a lot of it's the air conditioner unit sitting on top. the cooling systems. Well, the one that was going out here, their proposed building for the data center, it was more of a support system for the other companies coming in there. I'm not really, they asked me not to say a whole lot about it, but thank Microsoft, thank Apple, that kind of thing. It was a big project.
I mean, I would assume it would have to be something like that to be able to afford a price tag like that.
And they didn't even want to go through. So often everybody's like, well, why do you all give big tax breaks to people? Well, the Economic Development Cabinet, they normally have a deal worked out with someone like Nucor and that. They sit down with them. They're the big politicians. And then they have small communities like ours that are starving for tax revenue.
Yeah.
So then the Economic Development Cabinet says, oh, we got this package. We got this. Here you go. You take this. Well, in order for the Economic Development Cabinet to give them the tax breaks, I think something that got mentioned on your all's thing was Nucor Tubular foregoing the payroll tax. Well, that's a different entity other than Nucor Steel. Nucor Steel still pays all of their payroll tax. That Nucor Tubular plant was being discussed of going somewhere else. So Frankfurt and the county made it a little bit more, they put an incentive in there to get people to get that plant here on Montgomery Road. So, but back to the Speedway and why it's so attractive is the electric. We are sitting on a piece of property that has electric. There is transmission lines coming from KU to Nucor for a backup system, but ask anybody that works down there how many times they've ever relied on KU for a backup system. Whenever East Kentucky Power, I believe, is who provides them with all their electric, whenever it goes down, the place goes dark. It don't fire back up like a generator. So that tells me something. I asked why that was, and they said that KU cannot provide them enough power, is what I've been told multiple times. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know they're a massive draw.
So we have the infrastructure in place. Cause that was one of the things that I asked about. I said, how do we ensure that, I said, I won't pass anything without the Public Service Commission, who sets the rates and that, guaranteeing a price lock for so long. They said, well, you'll never get that. I said, well, I'll never support a data center then. People are struggling. I'm not going to increase you hear horror stories on the news and that, and I won't do that. But we are setting on an electrical grid out there that could handle the development of that. So it makes it very, very nice that the Speedway's already got the water and that there, and East Kentucky Power is just setting just a little ways away with the transmission line that they can jump over and feed into that. That's why that was so hot and heavy. Now, like I said, I think we're out, and I believe that you'll see something. I'm hearing a little bit of noise that people's told me that they've signed NDAs on the eastern side of Carroll County. So something's going in again on our border.
So you think that there's potentially a data center that might be going into Carrollton?
I do not know. I've tried to figure that out, but
we were discussing that. If that happens, then that's potentially we get all the negatives of a data center with none of the positives.
And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, you have these people around us that they want things. They keep on showing that years after years.
They desperately need money now, don't they, in Carrollton?
Yeah. So,
I don't know exactly. I mean, Carroll County's got some situations going on, I think, don't they?
I've heard. I don't want to comment too much because, at the end of the day, we switched from the Carroll County Jail. I was a big pusher we were incurring some costs over the last few years that I wasn't too happy with. And the Grant County Jailer and Grant County Jail System, they had some openings where we could move our people from down there and over here. And they made us a pretty good deal. So we moved now. in the future, it's a whole lot more convenient to drive down to Carrollton with our prisoners because you just shoot down 42 instead of going across Warsaw Road and that. But so I'll never want to talk about any of our neighboring counties real bad because we might need to deal with them in the future.
Well, I think the only thing that I would really like to point out from that is they have all that industry. They have a very well-developed interstate exit, but yet here we still, as neighbors, we don't know the facts, but we still hear these problems that are down there.
Exactly what I was about to say.
So, to bring that to our county, no matter how much we bring in or how good, it can still be mismanaged. The deals can be done improperly. So
it goes back to what I said before on another podcast that, from my view, no matter how much money government gets, it's never enough.
I've got a question on the budget and on the jail.
Depending on who's controlling the money, yes, you're right.
I mean, there's not many examples at any level anywhere where you're like, oh, this government has functioned, with financial surplus for 50 years. I mean, how many examples can you find?
I'm not
government
knocking.
at all levels is always broke. They always need more. So at what point do you say, no, this has to work? I mean, you can say, well, we're going to have to cut this or we're going to have to cut that. At some point you have to, because if you keep taxes are a percentage, if you keep raising a percentage, at some point it's not going to be an option because there's not anything left to tax.
So this is a big
I don't know where you draw that line, but
this is a big part of the budget, the jail. So in my opinion, as judge executive, unless you've got a third option here, you can either stop arresting people, which I don't know if you can communicate to the sheriff and say, we got to let people just drive through the county whether they have drugs or not, or you got to raise taxes to fund it. Is there a third option there?
So a lot of people's like, why don't you build your own jail? Well, for one, the state requires so many stipulations. It would be so expensive. And if you all brought up Carroll County and some of their situations that they've got going on right now, and the jail's part of that problem. A lot of the jails, everybody's going to these conferences. For the people at home that don't know, they have judges conferences, magistrates conferences. Then they have conferences for the jailers, and everybody gets together and they discuss this stuff. And they have the legislators there. Everybody, for the most part, that owns their own jail, they're losing money. Like, we're sitting here complaining about our jail bill, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, did it not cost Carroll County like almost $1 million and a deficit of what they? It was something just crazy.
So when we talk about the jail bill, and they say it's $60,000-$80,000 a month, whatever it is, how much of that money is recouped through? Because it's not free to go to jail. For a lot of people, they get arrested and they get a bill.
Yeah, I was trying to get that information whenever we pulled in here because I thought about it whenever I was pulling in the driveway. I was like, they're going to ask me about how much we get from where the inmates pay it back. Well, I'm pretty sure I'd have to go back and look at our contracts. And this is bad. I should know this. But I'm not sure exactly how much of that we get back. I'm not sure that we get any of it back from any portion. I think that's where we take advantage of some of the jail inmates being there, and we use them really cheap. We still have to. We pay part of their wages.
There's a lot of other costs too, like somebody if they have health problems or something like that. I mean, the county's responsible for covering that too, I assume. Because if you arrest somebody and they got some treatment they have to get or something, you can't say, you can't get it, you're in jail.
Well, so that goes back to one of the things I touched on earlier about people working the system and that. The things that you have to deal with, like this job is not simple. The things that you have to deal with, you never plan on any of it. Whenever I sat down in the magistrate seat, I had a recent situation that I would never have even dreamed of. Sheriff called me, and we have a woman who she has had several babies, and I guess she has figured out that if she gets arrested about the time that she's due, that
then the government picks up the bill.
Government picks up the bill. So a few weeks ago, we were trying to get a hold of a judge one day, and we were all scrambling to try to get a judge to a court order to release her immediately. So she didn't go into labor in our custody because it comes back and we have to, like, that money comes out of our budget and we have to pay a certain portion of her having to be in the hospital. So, we all sit here and we laugh and we smile.
That's not
And
cheap.
it's stupid. Like, that's one of the stupid things you have to deal with. And whenever we say, well, why is it this way? Why don't we have more for what we're paying in? Well, guys, you think I could call your dad and ask him at the school to pick up on her medical bills for us? Like, I'm making jokes, but that's the kind of silly stuff that we're having to deal with where people are abusing the system. And I don't know that, I don't know any other way to change that other than to make the county more attractive to a different clientele of people. Everybody needs a place to live. Don't get me wrong. But we haven't done the best job at protecting places like Scenic View, Heritage Hills. That was a whole debacle up at Heritage Hills. They put that house at the front of that housing development. One of our nicest housing developments had an eyesore, just a complete eyesore, and it wasn't going to get any better. And I feel bad. I feel bad for those people that are trying. But at the same time, you have to protect. I heard little comments, oh, they're looking down on me. It's a bunch of rich people that live there that they look down on me. No, I know those people. I've known those people my whole life. A big majority of them. Now, a few of them's moved from outside of the county into there, but
I would have thought Heritage Hills would have had deed restrictions that would prevent that, which is not necessarily a government problem. That's more HOA problem. HOA is responsible for enforcing deed restrictions.
Well, deed restrictions, it's come up here lately. Our legislature just passed a Fair Housing Act, I think is the name of it, but it might not be the exact name, but it's a law for fair housing to where, a lot of cities have where you can't put double wides in, and the city limits in that. Well, our legislature just made it illegal and wiped that rule out for cities across the state, from my comprehension of it. And if that house is on a permanent foundation, they can't discriminate on what kind of house it is. So I think deed restrictions and that, and
that's separate from deed restrictions, though.
Yeah, well, but I think that all that's going to be challenged. Heritage Hills has like the first 10 or 20 lots had restrictions. Outside of that, it didn't.
Okay.
Because I looked into that whenever that was all going on. The best way, I think, to combat something like that, and I've asked the people at Heritage Hills, and if you're all watching, you got to get on it to protect yourself in the future, because you have such a wonderful community in that. I would rank it top 3 of our housing developments in the county. You almost need an HOA, and I know nobody likes an HOA. That scares people too. But whenever a situation comes up with what they had happen a couple years ago, the HOA could have taken care of that a whole lot easier than trying to use the government. And
personally, I think that's the best route for that, because I don't think government should have the right to tell people
zoning.
Where they can, what kind of house they can build, because like you said, everybody has to have a place to live. But if someone is making an investment in an area that's a private investment, with a subdivision or whatever, where they're buying a home like that, you should be able to protect, the property within your development. But I don't think it's government's role. I think it should be an HOA and done with deed restrictions.
Yes.
Well, the government has to stand behind there has to be an enforcer there.
Well, the enforcer is the courts. But it's not a local, it's not like code enforcement has to go out and shut it down. The HOA has to bring it before the courts, is the way I understand it anyway. And then, the courts would rule on it.
Gotcha.
The HOA is definitely by far the easiest way to curb a situation like that from ever occurring or correcting it in the fastest way possible.
This is going to be totally shifting gears here, but it's been such a repetitive, recurring topic today. Good controlled growth. And I'm going to go to left field here, but I think the type of growth that you're talking about, people would highly desire grocery. That's something that is lacking in our community. I think it would be a reason why people would not locate here and would locate elsewhere. Is there any prospect, is there anything you could do as judge executive to help in that matter?
I won't make any promises. Like I say, I do not make promises. What I can say is I have talked to a couple attorneys that represent food chains, and I think that there is a chance over the next couple years that we could get some attention. A lot of it depends too. The Dollar General thing is a hot topic right now in Glencoe. The more small food chains you get and that, those big places, they look at that. And, it's competition. It's competition for them.
I think I read somewhere once that Walmart's number one competitor is actually Dollar General.
Dollar General. Yeah, so they hate being in a vicinity where there's a whole bunch of Dollar Generals. Well, guess what? Here, they're trying to get one in Glencoe. They got one at Long Ridge.
One in Sparta.
Yeah. So it's hard. It's hard to get their attention whenever there's so many small competitors. So we have to. I don't like telling anybody no what they can and can't do with their property, but at the same time, I think it's a choice that the community needs to make, and I guess they made it last night. Night before last. I'm sorry. Night before last. Getting the days confused. All the days are running together right now.
Is this where the comprehensive plan comes in? I know Judge Morris talked about that a little bit. If the government's going to say no to a Dollar General, it seems like the citizens of Glencoe, if they do want a grocery store, should say, all right, well, what's your plan? If you're keeping them out to get a Kroger or a Walmart, do we have a plan for that? Is that something the county's going for? And the comprehensive plan is something that hadn't been worked on in 20
Well, we've been
years.
working on it now for I don't know how long. It seems like it's taken forever this time around to get anything done with it. I talked to several of the planning and zoning members quite often, and they're frustrated right now. They're wanting to know. They're like, we've been working on this. Every time another issue comes up, like the Dollar General, I don't know was you there Tuesday night? What the new housing there next to Judge Morris's house? It was a
Sober living.
Sober living. Yes,
Yeah.
I was going to say
I've
alcohol
heard a little
rehab,
bit
but
about
sober living house. Whenever those topics comes up, it seems like our comprehensive plan works, pauses, and then you got the data center created a room full of people and a lot of phone calls, so it slows that progression down. But we have to get serious about it, and then we have to get serious. People, back to the board thing. Whenever the truck stop was trying to come into the Sparta exit, and I voted for it, it's in our comprehensive plan, it's common sense, which rare sense. We don't want to call it common no more, because if around our exit ramps aren't so-called commercial development sites, then, and our comprehensive plan says it is, and it's only common sense that it is, but yet we have a planning and zoning that keeps shooting down anything that's trying to develop there. How good is our plan? How good are our boards?
It seems to me like, and this may be completely wrong, I don't know, but it seems to me like there's a certain group of people or something that want to use zoning to pick and choose businesses that other people can start or bring in or open. And I don't think that's what the intention of zoning is. I personally don't even think it's legal. I think if someone sued them, I think that would be a major problem for our county zoning, because I don't think that it's legal.
You are 100% right. I made that argument, and that's why I voted the way I did. If we would have gotten sued, there is no doubt in my mind, and everybody can say, oh, MJ's just talking. It's political season. You're a businessman. You've done real estate. I've been around it. Planning and zoning, that is not, you don't pick and choose. They should have never been talking about the truck stop. Yeah. It's just not that. It's either an area for that kind of development or it's not. Yeah. You can't pick and choose. Now, on the backside of that, can we put stipulations in later? Yes, but to change the zoning,
you have to pick a zone and leave it there.
And leave it there.
The only thing I would ask on that as an unknowledgeable citizen, are there ever instances where infrastructure capability is taken into consideration to say we have the water there and sewer for that, or we don't? we have the utilities there. You know, in a previous show, we've heard the sidewalks mentioned, which all these things are things that can probably be addressed or improved. But are there caveats in zoning that take that into consideration?
I think that, yes, there should be. And I think that comes back down to the comprehensive plan where everybody overviews it. And, you know, just like the city of Glencoe, I mean, obviously they would be on the hook if a Dollar General went up there and people wanted the sidewalk. Somebody's got to pay for it. Dollar General, I mean, I guess that it could be in there to where they made them put that in the design if they wanted to strong arm them back and forth a little bit before they approved any kind of business plan or anything. But, you know, that's a touchy one. And I have my doubts that they would want to do that. So there is checks and balances, but whenever we have boards set up that don't realize that they can't pick and choose businesses, back to what Josh and I was talking about, it's really hard to get into those small details whenever we're missing the whole concept of what the board's even there to do in the first place.
Right.
Is the board elected or appointed?
It's appointed.
Appointed.
By
Judges, magistrate, cities.
okay.
Is that anything you'd consider if you were judge? I mean, making any changes there?
Yeah, there will be changes. So
I would definitely reiterate that I think there have been at least a couple of examples, if not more, in fairly recent times in the county that if someone were to want to sue over the way the zoning has been handled, I think it would be problematic for the county or the whoever. You know, I guess it would be the county that would be.
I believe that the
responsible for
property owners would have sued us that time out at Sparta, that we would have lost that case over and over and over again. And I've been told that by legal counsel as well. So I have faith in my vote, and I'll stand behind it 110%.
Yeah.
Well,
I could talk for another couple hours about issues, you know. I'm looking at the timer up there. I thought you said 30 or 40 minutes.
that was magistrates. You got a good hour and a half here.
Well, we can do it. There is a couple things that I want to talk on. If I've got some notes here, just because it's something that you guys are killing my campaign time a little bit. You know, I'm knocking on doors and.
Well, we hope to reach several people with this.
Yeah.
This may be a lot faster way to get
if I
some
don't
word out
get to
people.
your house and get to talk to you about all the issues, blame these guys, please. Don't hold it against me. I'm trying to answer all of this, but I'm having the same conversation over and over again every day. It seems like a place where I think I'll spend 5 or 10 minutes, I'm spending 35
that's hard.
to 100. Did Kentucky pay you all to do this now? So, yeah, but there's just a few things I want to talk about because whenever I'm out, people's watching this and you guys have talked about it. And, you know, we talked about the budget and if there's anywhere we can cut in that. I was looking this morning trying to go back. You know, we scheduled this last night because I didn't know. I've been beating on doors and that, fighting off the dogs. So I was going through late last night and this morning. Let's go back to just how we have been operating with just EMS, for example. Back in 1999, we had 2 full-time squads. Charles Williams was the EMS director. EMS had a budget of $600,000
In 99?
in 99.
Wow.
So the county said it was too expensive, and they went back to 1 squad because they had 2 full-time then. They went back to 1 squad. That didn't work. It wasn't working. They couldn't handle.
When did this
volume.
happen?
Sometime after 99, probably early 2000s.
Okay.
Then Barry Alexander went to EMS director. That's whenever, I don't know if y'all remember, the county used to do a lot of transports from Gallatin County Healthcare and other medical transports. And they were producing revenue, and that turned into a little bit of a fiasco. And
Gallatin County Healthcare, is that the nursing home?
yes, the nursing home. So they went back to a let's see here. They went back to 3 squads, I believe, while he was in 2 full-time and then 1 part-time. today we're still running basically the same. We took out the transport thing, kind of dropped off because there were some issues with the building and that turned into a whole debacle. And I don't have the details right here in front of me, so I don't want to misspeak on that. So I'll just leave that alone. But we've got 2 full-time squads, 1 full-time one ALS, BLS. I think you all talked on that, the difference in that. So we're pretty much the same as what we were doing in 1999 as far as employment there.
That's what I was going to try to get back to that, as not just with EMS, but as a whole for the county. How many county employees there are now compared to 10, 15 years ago?
Can we finish that EMS?
Yeah.
Remember that, because I want to talk about that. But on the EMS, so where specifically, you said 600,000 in 99, and you're saying we have a similar operation today. What's our
that
budget?
was with 2 squads. We're at 3 squads now, correct?
No, we're 2.
We're 2 squads.
We're 2 squads.
2 full-time, 1
We have
part-time?
a 3rd squad there if there's EMTs around that need to jump in. And a lot of that happens occasionally. We try not to rely on mutual aid
So you're
as much.
staffing 2 full.
But we're staffing 2 full-time.
And what's today's budget?
1.2 million.
Double. Okay. So now, one question that I want to ask about that in terms of the budget, you mentioned earlier, and I think this was news to all of us, the opioid account. Is there longevity to that account? Is that short-term, something we can't rely on?
Was it one payment?
It's being done. It's still, they're settling with different pharmaceutical companies. So occasionally we'll get a piece in there. I don't know. That's probably a better suited question. The judge and the sheriff probably have the details on that more, just because they're in the office every single day. But and they're getting all the updates. I try to stay updated on it, but the magistrate, the 14,123 isn't my full-time job, so
Right.
it don't cover the bill. So I hate to be that way, but like the great big details, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you. You all are in budget season there as the fiscal court. What are you all budgeting? What are you expecting to use from that fund? Ballpark.
I don't know that anything is out of that. I'm going to say that I don't know, because I don't want to misspeak on that.
Okay. So where specifically are you trying to come up with that 1.2 million from?
So that'll come back out of the general fund, a lot of it.
Okay.
How much of that is? Do you know roughly what the EMS bills each year out of that 1.2 million? How much of it's funded by insurance claims and things?
So it's just like everything else. We send a bill. Part of the time we get it. Part of the time we don't. Specifically for last year, I do not know. I know it was one of the things that whenever Bud Webster was EMS director, we changed all that billing around, and I don't want to misspeak on that numbers either, but we do get some back, but it's not nearly.
Not very much.
No.
But would you say that the majority of that difference in 600,000 up to 1.2 million is additional cost of staffing, even though there's the same number of staff?
So our staffing, you've heard this a lot in the arguments the last couple months over the pay raises and that we have giving our staff raises and that. Yes, we have. After COVID, we used part of our COVID money to give incentives. During COVID, whenever it was hard to get people to come to work, they were having to wear hazmat suits and everything else, dealing with patients. That job wasn't easy. It's never really easy. People have a passion for that just as much as a politician has passion for politics. You get paid for it, but that's a hard job. And we give increases, but so did everybody else around us. We tried to be competitive, and no more than we got competitive or close to closing the gap, everybody else jumped way back up there. So now we're back to this thing of we're not nearly as competitive as we'd like to paint the picture to be. Our insurance, it fluctuates a lot, but our insurance deductible $6,500. We don't. Everybody's like, "Oh, you got government insurance." So it's not the greatest. I'll sit here and say it. It stinks. Lex's insurance up there where she works at Gates and Hebron, it was smoke ours. So it's a bad deal. And it's one of the things that I've worked on. Judge Morris and we've had this conversation. He has been very transparent with that. I've sat down and because it's one of the things I've harped on. He has had me included at conferences. We've went and met with insurance agents. It just keeps going up while the benefits keep going down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, health insurance has gotten pretty bad over the last couple of decades.
Terrible.
So to finish that before you move to your next item, because I want to get to that whole list for you here. Is that something you think that what does the county do about that? Is that number too big, or do you just want the people to know, hey, this is what's happened, and this is why we got to figure out more revenue?
That's why I just want to explain to people where their money's going, because it sounds like a lot. You know, you start talking $4 or $5 million, and everybody's like, "Well, where's it going?" Well, a quarter of it's going to EMS. Boom, right there, $1 million gone. So now we're down to 3.
So you're not suggesting cutting any of that money. You just want the people to know, hey, we got to figure out. So we may have to bring jobs to the Speedway. We may have to raise taxes, even though you don't want to. But we got to figure out this revenue situation.
I'm actually just the opposite of cutting on it.
So, not to cut you off, but with the EMS staffing, we have the same EMS staff that we had in '99. You said
basically
the same number of people.
We have the same number of squads. You know, we're running the same system now. We have a lot of part-time employees in that to cover shifts and that. So we have a bigger pool.
It would make sense to me that the staffing would stay the same if, that's how many squads we need, because the population hasn't really changed. A lot.
I just want everybody to know that we're not paying for any more as far as what service we have. We have basically the same service. We're just paying twice as much to provide that service.
Right. And you don't see anywhere that there's a way to trim that. That's running bare bones there.
Our staff is underpaid.
If we're paying twice as much than we were in '99 for EMS, I would have to imagine if we go back and look at county revenue from '99, it's at least double what it was in '99. I would guess. I don't know.
So that was another one of the things I've got notes on here. I knew he was going to ask.
Is the quality of EMS ever a topic with people that you're talking to?
Do you know about respond time? I think is that what you're getting at there?
Are people getting where they need to get to?
So we've cleaned that a lot over the last several years. Used to, we was having a hard time getting the second squad staffed. So ours would be out. Verona, Carrollton, they would have to come do mutual aid calls. We have basically, I don't know, last year, I get the alerts on my phone. I'm trying to think, just a handful, maybe 20 times that we relied on an outside squad, which now we do mutual calls for Switzerland County. If they have a bad accident or something, they need something else like in those situations. So we all try to work together because every county has the same exact problem. It seems like.
I do want to ask one question on that. What happens financially when we go to Switzerland County or when we go to Grant County? I mean, is that
or vice versa when they come here?
Yeah. Yes.
So whoever takes the patient's the one that bills the insurance. So
so we don't have to pay them as a county. Whoever receives the ride pays for the ride.
Yeah.
That county, not our county.
There a few years ago, whenever we were relying a lot. Whenever I first took office, too, we had a bunch of squads that was broke down. We had a very old fleet. I think the newest vehicle we had at that time had well over 100,000 miles on it, if I'm not mistaken. We had a couple that was in service that had 300,000 miles. If you're in a dire situation, you want to jump in an old 7.3 Ford with 350,000 miles, that's the situation we were in. One time, I remember we didn't have a squad that would run. And Owen County let us borrow one of theirs for a couple weeks. So that was one of the big things. We've spent a lot of money on, and we put in a replacement fleet, kind of a rotation to where we're buying one every couple years. That's one of the notes that I have on here too, was I went back, way back, but Whenever we first took office, it was a little over 100,000, I think, 120, 140,000 for a new squad. I priced one recently. It was almost 300.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and back in 97 and 98, I think, 67,000
Price went from
approximately
120 to 300 in the last 7-8 years.
Yes.
And
I'm going to say 140 for like a loaded one. 100.
And something that I think our viewers need to hear, a lot of that, you can't go shopping just anywhere. There's a ton of regulation that must be complied.
Which I would have to imagine has some bearing on that increase in cost.
Absolutely. And that's across the board. I guarantee there's people within the government that are solely employed to handle regulatory matters on regulations that may not have even been in place in 99.
Well, so, and it's funny that we mentioned that. I don't know if y'all know this or not. Congress is in the middle of an investigation on fire trucks. So, with the price of them for price gouging. Our pumper, the 2 pumper trucks that we have in the county now at our 2 fire departments, there's one in each. They, to replace those trucks are over 20 years old. You know, they don't get a lot of mileage in that, but they have pumps and they got seals and like they're still, and we have the, Zach now being on the water board, everybody's going to get to complain to him about all the hard water. But, you know, they sit there with that water in them. So they have to be ready to go. And they do age out. Like, yeah, we can keep them for a while. We have a great department because you drive by there. And it's one of the things that kind of stands out in the community. You drive by either firehouse and it's like, whoa, look at their equipment. It's nice. It's nice because they take care of it. That you always see somebody there washing something and that it makes a difference. But a new truck to replace one of those, I think it was, over $1 million.
It's insane.
So, you know, whenever I say we can't keep going the way we're going and we have to talk about controlled growth and revenue, it all ties right back into all of this. Like just to sustain what we're doing, to keep government the same, we got to create revenue. And, you know, it's disheartening. It's disheartening for me to sit here because I have all these things that I want. But at the same time, now I've got to figure out a way to do this without raising taxes or creating more taxes. Because Josh, absolutely, he said it over and over again. He does not like taxes.
I mean, at some point, like I said, you have to draw the line because sooner or later, maybe it's not this tax increase, but sooner or later, there's nothing left to tax. The faster you accelerate that equation, the worse things get.
When there are percentage, there are only 100 percentage points that can be taken.
That's
exactly.
Right. Well, and that's what
taxes in so many different, you know, everywhere you turn, it's tax.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you, I would much rather see the taxes that I pay 100% go to local government, local taxes, but that's not the world we live in.
I think we need to open up a way, trying to think how I want to word this, that avenue with the school and the county. We have to figure out ways that we can legally work together to benefit the county to where they can spend some of their money because, you know, they have the potential, depending on what development goes in here. Just let's back up to the data center for just a second and why we have to be open-minded for growth. So we've sat here and talked for an hour and 33 minutes, and most of it has been about revenue and how we increase revenue and what we do. Whenever I met with the gentlemen and the developers there, they had, there's a project in Jefferson County that's very similar to what would have been coming here. We used those numbers and the local laws, they researched that, and their estimated tax liability for the first year was estimated to be $33 million just to the county.
$33 million just to
If rates stayed
Just
the
to
same.
Jefferson County, you mean?
No, that would have been what if the project would have happened at Sparta at the Speedway. That would have been their tax responsibility, their estimated tax responsibility, because they weren't asking for any tax breaks or anything at all. And with the tangible, I believe they was including occupational in that, which now the support center,
you're
data center.
To be clear, you actually saw a proposal.
I seen
'Cause
a.
we were told by the judge that he had not seen any proposal for anything.
The judge didn't meet with these people. I was the only one that showed up. Well, there was a representative there from the school board as well, but the judge ended up. He was at the judges conference, and
you're saying in that proposal, so that sounds very legit, very bona fide. It was a serious consideration.
they had numbers there, and they had it all broke down on printed out sheets of paper, and then they was figuring and calculating.
You say in the first year. Was there some change planned after the first year?
Well, that was just it was seven buildings. That's why I say the data center was more of a support building, from my understanding. Gentlemen, this went probably about the same time. It was probably an hour and a half. And to be 100% transparent, I met with them at the Cracker Barrel at LaGrange. The gentleman flew in from Arizona, flew into Louisville, and that's where we met at. I figured if he was going to fly in, I'd at least meet him close, and he liked Cracker Barrel, I guess. And so we sat down there, and he ate him a piece of toast, and that was it. But he had all this paperwork, and he had a folder kind of like mine, and he was just discussing, and he said, I'm trying to get stuff going here, and we don't know what's going on. It seems like there's a lot of miscommunication, and I do think that that's what it was. If elected judge, I want to be better at communicating, because it's probably the number one thing that I hear back on feedback is, I'll call this person and I'll call that person, and I don't get a call back. Got to do better. You got to follow up with people. You got to call them back. Just like this situation here. I don't want to say that we've completely lost it. There wasn't no signatures down on anything, but whenever developers are wanting to meet with you, you've got to show up to the meetings. You've got to make it. Whenever somebody's flying across the country and wanting to sit down, you've got to sit down and meet with that person.
Absolutely. Not even that. I think if you're trying to bring business in, you need to be reaching out to people, figure out what you want, and reach out to them, make your pitch.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, have there been attempts to bring this person back or any other people? Like, have we made those attempts?
I've been working my tail off for the last 2 weeks, because after I found out about the Carroll County NDAs, I want to know what's going in there. Because I was also told about 2-3 weeks ago that I was going to be able to drive in a portion of Gallatin County if this deal went through, and they wouldn't tell me the details of it, but they were on me. They said, they said we were being stupid. And I have a hard time with that whenever people are calling, wanting to meet. And that's part of the reason why I signed up to run for the judge's spot. With all due respect to all the other magistrates are going to be like, well, why did he get invited to this meeting? Well, they're looking at who's running for local judge. That's who they deal with the most. As magistrate, you're not in that office daily. So one of the gentlemen was familiar with me from being in Frankfort, in the halls of Frankfort. I didn't know him. I'm sure Kyle Kelly, if I busted his name out here, he'd be like, oh, okay, he's one of those guys. So, and for those that don't know at home, what is Kyle's official title? Does anybody know?
He's lobbyist for Kentucky Farm Bureau.
Okay, I didn't know if the Kentucky Farm Bureau Federation.
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't know if he was he's an official lobbyist, but
yes.
If he had any other beautiful title, so anything fancy.
Used to be for the Retail Federation, but now solely just Kentucky Farm Bureau Federation.
So we have these people, and they're there, and I'm trying to work, and the last 2 weeks, though, I've been trying to get a meeting set back up, and I'm just not sure that it's going to happen. I think we've already missed out on that opportunity, which is very unfortunate.
To be clear, you think we've missed out on it because it's going to go into Carroll County?
I don't know where it's going because I haven't figured out. I don't want to speak.
But you think that's a
I
possibility?
think it's a possibility that something is going into Carroll County because property owners are signing NDAs, is what I've been told.
Yeah.
And I was told there, to finish that sentence a while ago, whenever I was called stupid, I was told that there was a high likelihood that I was going to be able to drive down a road in Gallatin County and see the data center. And, that's very disheartening. Whenever I know, let's just say we put a ton of stipulations and the community got behind it. Everybody says, stay away from the data center. Don't say anything about it. Political suicide. Gallatin County needs somebody that's real with them. They don't need we get way too many politicians. I've been told not to campaign this way too, but I'm being honest with everybody. Come May 20th, I'm a winner either way, you guys. Whoever goes in that judge's seat the next time, they've got to create revenue. They have to do it. To keep life the same, the way it is today, they have to create revenue. Costs are going up. Our revenue isn't keeping up with our costs. We're not really competitive on a pay scale. And so you have this, I did hear you say something about unicorns sprinkling golden nuggets or something. I did hear that in the bathroom as I was brushing my teeth, and I got tickled. But, there are things that happen across the United States that are unicorns. Could that have potentially been our unicorn that nobody really pushed to grab a hold of the unicorn?
Have you seen examples of, let's say, a data center going in somewhere where they do pay all this tax revenue that we're discussing?
I think that there's so many different levels of data centers. I'm not sure. That's what I would have loved to have had a bigger conversation and a more in-depth. But it's one of those things that a lot of people will say, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? For one, I respect my position. I respect the judge and his position. There is a pecking order. Mm-hmm. At that same time, I don't want to overstep anybody. At the end of the day, I can't say, yes, I will sign that or anything like that. Like, I'm just one. So to the candidates at home watching this later that's running for office, I'm going to ask you to be open-minded. I've done it before. I'm not a perfect person. I've done it. I've spoke. I will do what the community wants to do. But we have things in place, and the community... It looks really bad whenever there's a big room full of people, and it doesn't look like we're being transparent, and things are being hidden from them whenever they're actually not, because we have board members that's not showing up, and then all of a sudden things get canceled because there's a room full of 100 people and they're wanting to talk about a data center, and it's what people's passionate about, and then all of a sudden things get canceled because people didn't show up. Well, then all of a sudden it's, they're hiding something from us. No, it's just, we don't have good boards in place. We're failing to do just simple tasks, let alone to tackle the big ones.
But back to when we talk about this tax revenue, I like to think, I like to see an example of it. I would too. Is there an example of a data center somewhere that is paying these extremely high taxes?
I think it's all so new. A lot of them.
I've had this conversation with a couple other people, and they seem to think that there's some way that they get out of this, massive tangible tax, which I think is where most of the revenue is expected to come from.
That would have to fall back kind of like with the environmental and the infrastructure. If you make them do it, if we write the rules right now and say these are the rules you have to play by if you're going to locate here.
But that's what I wonder, though, is if there's an example where they've actually paid that and not located in the county next to them where they're not going to pay that.
So, like I said, I think that there's different scales of how big and massive each one of these are. I think you have little, we're in a big building for Warsaw, but on the data center scale, it's a small building.
It's a little
I think,
speck.
yeah.
Drop in a bucket.
Yeah, and I guess
That
they're,
was
they're
gonna be a
putting
question.
hundreds of acres of servers and things in
How big
places.
was this proposal? How many square feet?
I did not see, it wasn't a complete drawing or anything like that. There were 7 buildings located on the property.
All of which,
But-
all 7 individually, probably bigger than what our current biggest building is.
Yeah, they were big buildings.
Was this thought Speedway property?
Yes, it was. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I probably shouldn't even say this number, but I think that there was 200 acres of that property that was exempted out of that for a different project. Maybe 250, 248, 250, I think might have been the number I seen on the paper. Trying to remember all the numbers that I look at, like you all see.
What
Trying
type
to
of
remember all
project
those.
would that have been?
I'm not sure what they had in mind there, but like the 33 million was off the. I guess they had a some kind of deal worked out with 2 or 3 companies that would have went in as soon as the data center would have went in. That these 2 or 3 were following that, and then they were in communication, waiting on the zone change, and because time is of the essence. This data center thing, after I've educated myself, and since that meeting, the next day, one of those gentlemen that was sitting there at that table, he was at the judges conference with the Senate and House president up on stage. Well, he wasn't on stage, but he was there and helping them explain the threat that we are getting from China and Russia, North Korea, Iran. It's strange that we're talking about that being an issue with our projects, but we are in an information war with those. Everybody's using their phones. Everybody's using AI. It's not going away. I don't see AI going away. It's such a powerful tool. We created something that's way more intelligent than we are as individuals. So I don't see that going away. It's taking jobs away from people. You know, I don't know how we adjust to it. So how do we capitalize off of that in the future? You know, that's what I'm looking at. I don't think it's going away. So China and Russia, let's just say our top adversaries, they're the ones pushing a lot of this whole propaganda, supposedly, if we listen to all the politicians and the intel people at these conferences. They're the ones pushing that Americans don't want data centers, which it makes sense because
so you're saying that foreign governments are spreading misinformation about data centers. Basically.
That's what we're being told. And there's a part back to the common sense thing. It would make sense to me because all of our information, everything's being stored. Pick up a phone, talk about something that we talked about today is going to show up on
100%.
our social media feeds. That information's being stored somewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We are in, whether people want to admit it, we are in a arms race. It's the new Cold War to some degree, but on a technological side because it controls all of our information. So that information is going somewhere. China and Russia want that information. We have to have the server space and that. So they want all that information.
Do you remember the locations? He said there were maybe 3 locations that were comparable to what would have been proposed out there.
I do not. No,
Okay.
I don't.
That's what we've talked about before is we'd like to just go see something that, you know, if it's a 100-acre complex, we'd like to go see what the buzz, what the light.
Well, I don't normally make promises, but if I find a location, if this goes any farther and I can get a meeting and I get to go look at a spot unannounced, I'll holler at you all and we'll jump in the truck. But
I'll definitely be in for that.
yeah, Josh can't bring his beer.
Count me out.
Yeah, I got in trouble. You know, it took an hour and 48 minutes for me to mention that, but you know, I wanted Royce to sponsor my episode, and everybody's like, "MJ Haddix, you do not drink."
I had a fair amount of people that told me they liked the fact that I was keeping it real and drinking a beer, However, my mother was not one of those people.
I
She was
heard.
not very excited about it. So,
I heard that's I got that intel there yesterday. They said if you've done that podcast, don't you be drinking with Josh because Sally will get you both.
yeah.
I said I just want to plug Neely's and just take me a swig. Is that wrong? And they're like, do not do it.
So it sounds like the data center, you want to be hot on that if you're elected. You want the county should definitely explore that as the best way to increase revenue.
Well, I mean, I think you have to be. I'm not for a data center, but at the same time, I will listen to proposals, and if it's something that's going in 5 miles to the west in a neighboring county, and we're still getting the pollution from it, and it's still going to affect, if it does affect electric costs. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you. I was having a brain moment there. I'm getting older. If it affects all of those things anyways, it's common sense that whether we want it or not, we need if it's $30 million, if it's $10 million, I think it's something that you have to say, hey, it's only common sense.
I wonder if there's any precedent for something that, if it does put off a hum that affects people, if they put it on like a county line or something. I wonder if there's any precedent in the courts to have some sort of lawsuit or something.
We could stop it in Carroll County, or they could stop it in Gallatin County.
Yeah.
Well, again, this is not a good political answer, but if there's this much money around them, who's going to stop them?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily mean with them, but maybe with Carroll County.
My grandpa Jail, he told me there a few years ago. I said, I hope I don't ever become the person that'd sell out. And he said, MJ, he said, everybody's got a price. I said, what do you mean? He said, it ain't if a person will steal from me. He said, it's what number it takes to get them to do it.
Yeah.
And I've thought about that. And, I've seen so many, I've tried to make a real good friend network in Frankfort and on a national level. So, those guys are the ones that really funnel money for projects and that. I've been very vocal about the local money going to the airport. And now last year, all of a sudden, there was me and a few other counties that had some people like me that was making a lot of noise. And all of a sudden, the legislature sets aside money for general aviation airports. So last year we get $200,000 for operational costs annually. This year, I think we're going to get $215, $220, something like that. And speaking, everybody asks why I'm still against voting on the monthly bills. One of the reasons is, real quick, probably nobody's going to see this at home after I've talked this on, but we have our road guys going out there and doing things. Brent Brown, our road supervisor, he goes out and he checks the tanks and that. That is coming out of our road fund money. Their hourly rate, their salaries and that's coming out of our road fund. What I want is just simple government. I want there to be more line items in the budget. You all have seen an older budget, I think. How hard was it to read and understand?
Pretty difficult.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that hard. Yeah. Whenever the sheriff took over, Sheriff Webster, he added several line items in his budget. And it wasn't like the state. And something got said about that. They said, we don't need all. He said, I want it. I want to be able to see it, and I want to be able to show people. He said, I can see it easier. I understand it. It's too hard. I look, we have a friendship, Bud and I do, and I often bounce things around on him. He's been EMS director, now he's sheriff. He's been fire chief. I do. I try to surround myself with people. If I had a question about a real estate thing, I'm calling Josh, because he's bought and traded in houses. Like, I don't do that because I'm not in the rental business. But, if I had a question like that, he's one of the top people that I would call. We need to simplify that budget where it's easier to understand for people. I would like for you all to be able to pick it up and say, oh, this is a whole lot easier. This is where that money went to. This is what we spent the money on. So
Is that possible in government?
Yes, it is possible. You've got to have the passion, and it takes some time. Like, you got to be in the office. You got to be there a lot more than some people like to be there. And I say it's not on a personal level. I love everybody. I try to, anyways. But we need somebody that's passionate and willing to be there. You got to marry the job. The people that suffer the most, if I was to get elected and I'm lucky enough to be there, the people that suffer the most are the people that live with me. And I'm going out and I've put myself out there. And that's why I say I'm a winner either way. I'm not going to be mad at anybody. If anybody thinks that there's somebody better suited than this, no hard feelings whatsoever. We've been around this. We've seen it. Feelings get hurt in that. I in no way want to hurt somebody's feelings if they think that somebody else is better than me. And if I'm not here, it frees up a ton of time with my family. I've got a little girl. She'll be 7 in June. I have another one, opening day of our pumpkin patch, September 19th. So that may be to be determined, but my family says that they'll take care of it. But I think everybody will want to be at the hospital if that happens. But we'll see how it goes. We'll let them fight that out. I ain't worried about it. But it allows me to live a much simpler life if I'm not here. But I'm willing. I signed up for this because I'm passionate about it. And if I'm there, I'm going to be there. I'm going to marry it. I've had that hard conversation with everybody at home. This job is a hard job anyways. Anytime you ever sign up for it, it's going to be hard because obviously the same people probably face different things. You know, this ain't new for anybody else. There's people all across the state and each county that's going through the similar things. So I would love the opportunity to get to simple that down. And I want us to be accountable with our money. If somebody's out there working, I want a spreadsheet. I want to know how long our county workers went there so that money can be taken out of that operational money and put back into our road fund so we're not robbing road funds for the airport.
I don't think we've talked much about the airport yet, but the question I've asked a couple other people we've had on the show is, how much money has the county spent on the airport?
That's a good question. So whenever American Racing defaulted on their bonds, and that, from what I can tell, nobody really had that happen before. It was a very unique situation for Gallatin County to end up in, and I wish we still had the building today, but can't cry over spilt milk. It would be very, very convenient right now, especially whenever we had to pay $500,000 for Scott's and we sold the American Racing building for $500,000.
That's what we were talking about with Ryan, how all that transpired and if the county really owned it, if there were other interests in it, or what the ordeal was with it.
So it reverted back to the county, and the county sold it. And you ain't gonna make me talk about family, are you? So
you can talk about whatever you want.
I'll just leave it at, I don't think it was the best deal. And
I've heard that before. I don't know. I don't know what the stipulations were around that.
Yeah. So we ended up with $500,000, and it ended up in somebody else's name. So that's the part that I look at and focus on. And I wish that it wouldn't have been that way. I don't even know how. I'm just going to be quiet.
Well, it wasn't necessarily ours to use. It had to be moved on at some point, correct?
Well, I thought that for a long time too, but I don't think that that's 100%. I think the county could have ended up with it and used it. It could have housed their road department, and I think the
pretty
office
good
space and all that.
Fire station location.
Everything. everything that we had. You know, the county clerk's been a hot topic here last few months, and we have aging buildings. Our dispatch center, look at it, y'all. It's terrible. We could have basically put everybody there and had just a community or a civic office for everybody. So,
which would have been still a very large expense to do that.
Is that?
It's not the building was moving ready for all that stuff.
Oh yeah, there would have been some
in doing
Is that
renovations
something that's
and
being talked about? The Civic's kind of a government center.
I think everybody's got a wish list at this point, but I don't know where the funds come up for it right now. Again, if you're not generating revenue, I'm looking for the unicorn.
is the current county offices, are they no longer sufficient? What's the concern with the current offices?
Well, I mean, I think the radon levels, mold levels, just the jail building alone, it's kind of falling apart. And there's either going to need to be some big remodels with some big expenditures there, or do you keep remodeling old buildings, or is it cheaper to buy new? So,
I'm not.
They've got to be in the oldest buildings in the county.
right?
Almost every government office.
I know that there's a few people that think that it's our responsibility to keep the courthouse square up to snuff and to keep it alive and well. I don't know that I believe that. Every time a building ends up empty there, the diner comes in. Who would have ever thought I would be able to go and get Botox at the courthouse square? Or a facial.
I'm
not getting Botox, by the way. Don't anybody think that.
We're gonna have a
I ain't to
clip
that
with
point.
I think honestly that in a way it can kill the commerce of the courthouse square if everything is a judge's office or a PVA, because that's not business, that's not traffic, and it's not commerce. So
Well, they do get foot traffic.
I guess they do get foot traffic, but there's a lot to talk about there.
Well, like I said, I'm not the best at choosing words, but the parking situation around there just absolutely sucks. And I don't know. It's terrible. A court day, I don't know how you have any more business around there. I'm really anxious to see whenever Amigos opens up, because, there's going to be a lot of people like me and Josh that want to go drink a margarita and eat some chips and salsa. And I have no idea where everybody's going to park. That's maybe
Especially for the first couple of months while everybody, is flocking there to try it out.
Yeah.
maybe I could go in down at Mark's and go ahead and start pre-planning little by little each day, and start making some arrangements for myself, and use his parking spot after I shop around and try to get a parking spot at the funeral home. I think that might be the only option in the future.
Yeah,
Definitely an issue.
Yeah, but you did say that there have taken a step back here to the airport, because Zach asked about it earlier. Josh asked about it. What, if you had to ballpark a number? I mean, what is the county expenditures that could go elsewhere that are going there?
Yeah, I went down a rabbit hole on that one. Sorry. So that whenever it reverted back on the bonds, the county also got it was like a penalty or something against American Racing, and there was $200,000 put into an account. It was in the economic development account for future economic development in the county. Well, that $200,000, it draws interest there, and that interest is our money to do whatever with. So I think Judge McFarland had used the interest money. I believe he was the judge that done it. The interest money off of that, and it would have been several, like tens of thousands of dollars, I believe, at that time, that got used on it. I still haven't to this day quite figured it out. Some things you're better off for your own sanity just to let go and just put your head down and roll on. We had a bill whenever we first took office. Judge Morris called me one day. He said, "Listen, we got a $37,000 bill here that they're wanting us to pay." I said, "Don't pay it." He said, "What do you mean don't pay it?" I said, "Don't pay it." He goes,
$37,000 bill for the
the airport. And it was some kind of like local match thing. And I said, "Don't pay it." He goes, "What do you mean? We got to pay our bills." I said, "Do not pay it." So what are they going to do to us? I said, "Somebody will pay it." And I said, "The feds and the state's the ones that's paying most of it anyways." I said, "Somebody will pick up the tab." And sure enough, state picked up our tab. And ever since then, they picked up our tab. A lot of people thought we couldn't have stopped the airport development whenever we first took office. And down here at the extension office, there was a big debate between me and Judge Morris, and a couple of transportation officials was standing there and witnessed it. And we got outside and we were having a debate, and no more than we got finished, a guy from the Federal Aviation, he was a Federal Aviation representative that was handling the building and that. He come up and he said, "Thank you all for being so supportive of the airport. We thought for sure it was going to be dead in the water." And one of the people, he's like, that was witnessing our debate, and he said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, we was worried that they was going to stop it and it wasn't going to get built because we haven't broke any ground yet." I'm like, "Oh, so it was able to be stopped, huh?" So, that's the thing. But I guess in the future, depending on what happens around the airport, you could say that it'll be a positive. Just depends. I've heard a lot of rumors whenever this all come up about the data center and that. I'm sure if Microsoft or Apple or anybody came in there, I seen one number. The low number I seen was 500 jobs, and I seen one that is potentially 12 to 1,500 jobs. So
For a data center?
for that project out there,
Construction jobs.
not construction jobs,
Long-term.
long-term jobs.
Really, because we've always
So I'm going to open up that can of worms again. So
data centers don't employ very many people.
So the data center was not. It was the manufacturing. These things have to be assembled somewhere. And that's just what I'm going to say. And President Trump was very adamant about iPhones and
So part of the talk of the Speedway development that was the data center wasn't just a data center. There was manufacturing
yes,
in
assembly.
the same development.
Yes.
And am I correct in going back to our previous conversation, do you think all that's dead?
I know everybody at home's going to want me to say the data center's dead. But whenever you start talking about 12 to 1,500 jobs, even 500, and you start talking about 30 million, I do not want to be deceiving at all. If we could ever get to the point where the community felt comfortable with the stipulations that we put in place, maybe we put the data center over against the interstate where the noise impact's less likely.
There's already an interstate.
Yeah. From what I have researched, the decibel levels for the most part are lower than an interstate. So
Interstate's definitely noisy.
there's all kinds of things there. There's so much ground. A lot of these data centers, from what I can tell, they've went into places just like this field right here. They go into a place like that where there isn't a whole lot of noise, and they're in a country setting, and all of a sudden, then there's a hum because there's nothing making noise around it. So, you all have researched it some, I'm sure. Nobody ever takes the bad ground. They always take the good ground. They always, just like Nucor. You probably don't remember anything before we got in steel there, but I vaguely remember it. And
Look out the window. You got a pretty good idea what it used to look like.
it was awesome. And I see pictures of it. I'm sure you've seen the pictures there, and it's just unreal that we keep taking all the good ground. So it's hard to compare anything with that. That's just a really, really unique situation. So I will be open ears to any development that wants to come. As far as I'm concerned, looking at our budget, nobody wants to cut anything. I hear that. We want to do more, but we don't have the money. We're bare bones now. Gallatin County, if I'm elected, is open to business for controlled growth. We're open for business. I'm a business person. I own my own businesses. You're all the time, as a business person, you're all the time open for business. So you're looking for the next
Like
dollar.
I said before on one of the shows, I'll listen to any proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very closed-minded to come in here and say, I'm not for a data center. I'm not for this. I'm not for that. From what I know about data centers right now, I'm against it. if I get to control the rules and regulations on it, and I think the community would be okay with those rules and regulations, and we had safeguards in place, and I was the one making that sure that we had that, and I had competent legal representation covering my hind end behind on the backside of it, I'm open-minded to the fact that there could be something like a data center out there if it supports something that creates that big of an impact on our community, because then there in turn creates a space for gentlemen like Josh, who's in real estate. It drives housing through the roof. Like instead of $150,000 homes, like we could actually talk about a nice big subdivision, and that's where
I don't
we get
think
back.
anybody's building new homes for 100 or 150,000
Well,
now, but at least not that I'm seeing.
Well, you know that there is some very
Yeah.
cheap homes going up around,
Yeah.
and they're probably still $350. But you know, I want to focus on good development and stuff that we don't have currently. I don't want Boone County. Everybody's gonna say, "Oh, MJ wants Boone County." No, I don't want Boone County. I want an area that's something like that. I want to be able to go out and eat at Cattleman's. I want those things.
I mean, if you're going to have that in the county, it's got to be 1039 Sparta area. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only suitable area for it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that I love Warsaw. I've been here my whole life. Warsaw isn't. It's always going to be the river town that it is, and it does have room to grow. Like, don't get me wrong, but as far as big development goes, and everybody says, "Where's the best place?" 1039, 71. I mean, it's just the way it is. And the Sparta exit right now, as long as the Speedway's sitting there and they own it, you can't do anything with it because they own that exit. Which I guess we got some new development out there in the last couple of years. We got a new business, but I don't think that that's what we wanted either. So if that's what, I mean, think about it. Like, we all sit here and laugh, and it's embarrassing though that that's our newest business.
Is there an issue with infrastructure on 1039 that maybe is holding back development out there?
So Road Ranger bought that piece of property across from Love's, and I was at the water board meetings, and Vic can tell you about this, your grandpa. They've had a utility issue with Carrollton and that, and we don't even need to open that up, but we thought it was coming. I got a couple phone calls about it, and Zach called me, and he's like, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, they bought the ground. Like, I think that we want on the utility end of it, so I'm like, yeah, like, do whatever we got to do because we don't want to lose it." To the people at home, we don't supply the utilities to the water and that to Love's. So even though it's in Gallatin County, Carroll County water benefits from that.
So Carroll County Water does supply Love's?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So we...
And is that the issue? Does Carroll County not have sufficient water to service another? Why does Road Ranger not there and in service?
So Steve sent several letters on behalf of the water board, and come to find out, I guess whoever made the purchase of that on behalf of that company did not do, I don't know if they bought it sight unseen or what. I have no idea, but they said that after they purchased it, that they realized that there was way too much work to be done, prep work and that. So they paused it. I don't know if they've got it for sale or not, but their reasoning is that somebody on their end made a big mistake as far as how much money that they needed to develop that.
But not due to an infrastructure issue.
No, they said it was not an infrastructure issue, is what we were reported back to at the water board meeting that I was at. Now, I didn't read it, but I have faith in Steve that
Do we
it
have
wasn't a
water
problem.
closer to the river going up 1039?
Yes. I don't know.
I mean, we do.
You're going to.
Yeah, I'm going to learn.
Yeah.
But
That's
the Speedway.
That's your
getting that
question.
close.
You're a water board guy.
I'll ask this question next week, next Thursday.
This is a development to me. I didn't know we had a water board member
Oh
with
yeah,
us here.
yeah. We're
How long has that been?
Can we
been a
trade
thing?
seats next week and me come back? I got all kinds of questions.
Yeah, hopefully I'll have some answers. But I don't know, 2 weeks, something.
Oh, okay.
But we have water all the way out to the Speedway. That should be sufficient, I would think, infrastructure-wise, for any development that goes out there.
So there's a big push right now too with trying to get water to the airport to supply it, and that's going to have to be pushed. You're going to learn all about that in some of your meetings coming up, but that's talk with the county, and they're trying to get the money secured and some of the grants and that to get a bigger line. I forgot what size line that is up to the airport.
Interesting. We've covered about covered all our topics here, I think.
I'm just looking at my notes here. I jotted down this morning. Did we ever get a number on how much money the county has spent on the airport? Do we know? We don't know.
No, sir. Not that. No, I'm not even going to speak a number. Like I said, I've just been trying ever since I've been in office to curb any local money going out of our funds for the airport.
I asked you
Another
earlier,
question.
I'll ask again.
For the money that has been spent, do we know where it came from? From county money? What
That was one of the loophole that you talked about, the interest off of the 200,000. It sounded like
economic
maybe
development, was that all? You
Yeah.
think that's where all
well,
that came
and
from?
here's
that's a loophole, not our money.
well,
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
so the day-to-day stuff now that we're incurring is coming out of our road fund for our employees being out there working.
As far as you know, nothing out of the LGEA account or
No, I don't believe that
or,
that would
the general
qualify.
fund.
general.
Yeah, I don't think. I could be dead wrong on this, but I don't think that the LGA money could be spent out there.
But money's same as I asked earlier. If you were ballparking it, less than 10,000, less than 50,000, less than 100,000.
I don't want to ballpark it because I don't know what that original interest was. That would be probably something that Lisa and she loves me every time I sit down there in the hot seat. If you ever been in the office, she's got a little chair there. And whenever I sit down in the hot seat, I don't know. Some days, a couple times, I guess I've dreaded sitting down there whenever she told me to sit down. But I think for the most part, she probably takes a big sigh whenever I walk in the door if I walk towards her. So she probably loves me some days, hates me the next, but it's all right.
Wonder if we could get her to come on.
Good luck.
Bring your computer.
Yeah.
You know what?
we might have to move the show to the judge's office for that episode.
I was going to say, I bet she would let you sit down in the hot seat. Lisa, you have a challenge. Josh wants to sit down in the hot seat. He's bringing a mic and they're bringing the camera. I can arrange that, I'm sure. Yeah, she would love to have you there.
Interesting.
Can you imagine
She loves
that?
a good debate.
Interesting conversation.
Imagine the technical difficulties
she's
if we
gotta
tried to
know.
move.
She has to be the most knowledgeable person on the budget and the money in the county because, I mean, how long has she worked there as the treasurer for through
She told me to
3 or 4 judges?
Yes.
I
I
mean,
mean, she's been there.
yeah.
She's quite the asset whenever it comes to
Absolutely.
the numbers. So, yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned that. That may or may not have been a topic already. So, we'll see which one of you. I hope you both agree to it, and you all can do it live from the judge's office.
Tell you what, the list.
She's
of
like, you
future-
go in there and you straighten Josh out. I'm like, well, she goes, we need revenue.
Yeah. Well, what else you got, MJ? We're gonna coming up on our time for sure here. What else? This is your time to tell the voters.
I've got one here. Just
okay.
For
Yeah.
the primary, we're talking about all the future stuff for the judge. Got to get through the primary first. You got any differences between you and your opponent?
It's no secret that Josh and I was in a very similar situation just for the magistrate position 8 years ago now. Time flies,
Yeah,
huh?
it does. It's crazy.
I said I would never campaign against family again, ever. I hate. Josh is an awesome person. He's been a very successful business person. I respect him tremendously. And I don't even want to look at him right now because, it's one of those things. This job stinks. Politics stink. I hope that no matter what happens, I think we're both very passionate about certain things, and we have a different way of presenting ourselves and how we handle ourselves in that. I think in a lot of ways, we all want the same things. It's how we approach getting there. And I don't have anything bad to say. I don't want to say anything bad. Like I said, I told my grandpa a few years ago, I would have really, really liked to have a conversation with him here lately. And I didn't start campaigning until, I'd see people out and that. I tried my best not to campaign, and everybody's like, what are you doing? You're allowing this to close the gap. And it's hard. I never wanted to be here whenever I signed up. I filled out my intent paperwork in August, and once you do that, you're kind of on the hook to run. If you back out of it, you lose respect by people and that. And, but I never wanted to be here, but he is my opponent. And that's all I've got to say about it. He's my opponent. And I hope that my record, since I've been a magistrate, is good enough for me not to address that issue. I think I've proven that I will stand up and do what I said I was going to do. I will vote the way I said I would. I'm here fighting against taxes. I'm here trying to generate revenue. I'm trying to be respectful to, it's a hard job to balance all the different walks of life. The Gallatin County is going to change. It is changing. It is natural progression out of Northern Kentucky. It is coming this way. How do we limit that and control the growth to where it doesn't mess up our livelihoods and we benefit from it, to the people that's grown up here, to where we all have room in the community in the future, and where our children, I want my little girls to have a home in Glencoe. I want it to be cleaner. I want them to have more opportunity. I don't want them to have to drive 45 minutes to a good job in Northern Kentucky. And I want there to be things for families to do. And if I'm the start of the ball rolling and somebody else and the voters decide to pick somebody else, I hope that we keep that ball going. I have nothing to... I wish everybody... I was going to say I don't have anything to say really about my opponent other than I hope that no matter what happens, that whoever is sitting in the judge's seat, and even if it's Mr. Morse, Judge Morse, I hope that we get energetic so we're not raising the taxes on the working people, that we have the development. And I hope we kick it in a gear of any of the three of us that we do better. I just want us to do better. I want us to take the job passionately. It means something to me. And I hope that the voters at home that's listened to this, we're 2 hours and 22 minutes into this, and I feel like I haven't even begun to tell you of what I've dealt with over the last 8 years. I'm not trying to take away anything from the other elected officials that I sat with, but I have tried to educate myself, and I've tried to stay on top of it. It's a part-time job that's full-time, overtime job. If you do it the right way and you're passionate about it, there's something to go to every day. It's hurt my business from the time that I've taken away from it trying to do this. I've put my stuff, my personal stuff aside to try to do better at this job. So I'm a winner either way. May 20th. I really, really hope the people that's listening to this and the people in Gallatin County, I've tried to be a true conservative and work for you. And I hope that you'll support me and vote for me. And I love everybody. It's been a fun ride, and it's been an absolute honor to serve. You know, this is my last year as magistrate, no matter what happens. It's been an absolute honor that I haven't taken lightly. There's been days I've been frustrated in that, but it's been very rewarding in some ways. And for that, I am forever thankful to the people at the Glencoe Veterans Memorial District for allowing me this opportunity to try to make a change and be the strong voice that I said I was going to be, and giving me that opportunity.
All right.
There you have it. Zach, anything else?
I think that's all I've got. You got any more on the notepad?
I mean, with the amount of time we've been going, we might ought to wind it down here. Nothing that really pertains to MJ's campaign or anything. Just other, that we could
Taylor?
discuss county topics for no telling how long.
Yeah, invite me back sometime. Huh?
We'll do it again.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back.
We'll do it again.
Well, for now, thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in, Jay.
Hey,
And good luck to you on
real
election
quick
day.
before we get off here, because everybody's been asking me, they're like, what are they going to do after the political season's over? Where's the podcast going?
Oh my gosh, the list just keeps on growing.
Okay.
I mean, we just said we got to get Lisa out here.
Lisa
I
will
think
probably
we've-
be like 5 episodes.
Yeah, we want to get Christina. We'll talk to the PVA. I think there's countless
Talk to
local
business owners
local
in the
business
community,
owners.
anything,
Yeah,
yeah.
we've had a lot of people to come up.
Maybe we can
wanna
get
talk?
some prospective business owners
Yeah,
on the
Yeah.
show and help with the.
I
Call,
think
call your buddy
the
from
development
Arizona.
plan.
We'll sit here and talk to
Yeah,
I was
we'll get
gonna
him in here,
say,
let him
you know what?
make his case.
I got another idea.
Yeah.
well, and also we've learned that the school board budget is enormous.
Yeah.
I would love it. I hate to let the cat out of the bag here, but as soon as May 19th passed, I'd like to invite the superintendent out. Would love to have school board members. I mean, they're
I'd like to talk
countless.
to the library.
Talk to the library.
That's it.
I think
that's,
we've got endless
that's number
things we can talk about.
And we're going to have to put him in this seat at one of these days,
Yeah.
or get our own grandpa out here. I mean, we got water board issues. Like, I think we got plenty of subject matter.
Yeah, okay. All right. That's what everybody keeps asking me. I'm like, I'm sure they've got some kind of plan. I said, maybe I made a joke.
We
I said, maybe
started
we're going to.
discussing this like 2 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a good location to do it in town. So when they got this building built, Bone called me and he was like, hey, I think I got the spot for the podcast now. I was like, all right, let's fire it up. And it just happened to be,
It was
we kept
election
putting it off
season.
a little bit, but, coming up on election time. So we were like, hey, this is a great time to start it. Maybe we'll get some steam out of the gate with the candidates.
One thing we can guarantee, though, it will be one a week. No more than one a week after May
It's running
19th.
us ragged right now, trying to get all these candidates
Turned
in
into
here.
a job.
Yeah, how's planting season going?
Shoot, buddy.
Luckily, it rained.
Yeah, right. That's what I said too. Whenever we were talking the other day, I was like, I got so much to do.
Yeah.
Like it's veggie season. Like we gotta get sweet corn in the ground and that. And we're trying to prep. I'm gonna make a plug real quick. I'm sorry for Pop's Landing. If you're a female or you have kids, Muddy Princess. We're having over 5,000 participants in Glencoe. Saturday is Muddy Kids. Saturday, August 14th. Sunday, August 15th is the women's that used to be held at Mild to Wild. Big success out there. It's coming to the creek. And
You're having over 5,000 participants in Glencoe?
yes, I needed.
That might set a record for Glencoe.
There you go.
That's
I'm
ever
trying to
been in
put Glencoe back on the map, boys.
What about Pop's Place? What's the projected opening date there?
Well, I've had to deal with a lot of government red tape. I'm not exempt from any of that, and we've had an issue with the plumbing and trying to get inspections and that. But I finally got my state plumbing for the final inspection Tuesday. Now we're working with Amelia at Three Rivers Health Department to get that open. But I said 3 weeks ago, but May 19th is I'm going to say May 21st. I'm going to give my day a day off,
Day of rest.
Yeah. So we'll either be celebrating or maybe Neely can sponsor that day too.
One way or another.
We'll be having a good time either way. So working just the same, but probably as of I'm going to say tentatively Thursday, May 21st
Okay.
will be our opening, and
That's when I'll be able to get a pizza, Hunt Brothers Pizza in Glencoe.
yeah, you can come down and try one of my practice ones though
Yeah.
if you get real hungry
I'm looking
before
forward
then.
to that.
Yeah. So I don't have beer yet though. So we've got some big things there. Whether I'm in season or you're in season, the plan is to have fresh produce there all the time. So that's something that whenever this gets off here, whenever we go off live, or maybe even another day, because everybody's probably tired of talking at this point, but I want to have fresh produce there. It's one of the things that everybody with the Dollar General is wanting the marketplace because they want produce. So
what are your expected hours to be open?
Oh, Josh.
Haven't got that far yet. I'm just curious, how. We're
going to start slow and we're going to add on to it. Right now, the big thing is going to be the locally grown fresh produce, because we're you've already got some things, I guess, probably, don't you?
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes. Yeah. So how far out are you on everything else?
Basically, 1st of July is standard for most everything except for the tomatoes.
Well, that's what I've been telling everybody, at least a month. So month and a half. So I'm on it pretty close, but that's going to be one of the big things. We also have the campground. We're getting ready to put sewer in down there. We're waiting for a plan inspection on that, or plan approval from Frankfurt on that. And we'll have 16 full hookup sites down there, so people can come out on the farm. We do the farm tours in the fall and that. We're trying to expand that a little bit more to where we can have different festivals. I've got this big long-term plan, but eventually I'd like to have strawberries and that, and different festival kind of scenes throughout the year. It's unreal. The traffic that we get, I guess, being so close to 71, and how much of our business is driven out of Cincinnati. It blows my mind, and having that opportunity. But everybody's like, well, how are you going to be judged and do all that? Well, I have a plan, but we have a lawn care and landscaping business, and if I get elected, we're going to put all that back, and we're scaling that way, way down. So I'd like to, several things have changed in my family the last several months since I was elected, and I guess we'll be in Glencoe for a long time the way it looks, and thank God. And so Pop's Place is after my grandpa, try to keep that memory alive the best I can, and expand all of that and live the farm life with the kids and the family. So, my personal life's changed a lot this term, and you get a good reminder of what's important in life, and that's where I'm at. I never would have dreamed of. There's a lot of it's a hard work in the vegetable field, but there's a lot of satisfaction out of it. There ain't no life like farm life, and we got the cows. We're gonna do our own milk and that. So a lot of call share programs. It's the future, and we're getting there. It might take us a few years to build it, but we want to get people that don't have the opportunity to be on the farm. And we got the creek, so everybody loves the creek. So they want to come there and play, and then they learn about everything else while they're there. So that's the plan. As far as the store goes, we're going to do Hunt Brothers Pizza. I guess I'll go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. We're going to do delivery. That's been one of the big things.
Wow.
That,
That's breaking
people's talking
news.
about. So we
You
might
heard
not
it here first.
Yeah.
From the horse's mouth.
Yeah, I don't want to make
delivery in
everybody
Glencoe.
sweat that sells Hunt Brothers, but that is part of the plan. We worked with Hunt Brothers and got that all figured out. So you got to have something. Over in our area, there's not a whole lot of delivery. You all are close enough to Warsaw that you can get Snappy and all that, and we're right on the edge of Snappy coming down there. So Chuck's probably going to kill me. He's going to be like, MJ, what are you doing? But a lot of business is derived out of Owen County too, so they're very good to us. And there's a big portion, 10 miles out from there that we can hit that on. So we're going to do that, and we're going to have chicken wings, hoagies, all that good stuff. So, yeah, you give me a big plug. I'm sorry.
Oh, hey, no, you're here.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, good.
We're good.
I think so.
MJ, thanks a lot, man. It's
Thank
been
you
good.
all. Yeah.
Appreciate you coming.
I'm sorry it talked so long. It's been a good time. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming.